Here.
Ms. Jordan. Here. Mr. Moss.
Here.
Mr. Stiver.
Here.
Mr. Lamb.
Here.
Ms. Seymour.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda this evening is a presentation of the Michigan Association of Planning award to the City of Southfield, Planning Department award Technological University. Mr. Crowe, would you please handle the introduction?
Thank you, Madam President, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council. Very excited tonight to introduce the Southfield's Mid-Century Modern Design Guidelines. We're going to do a brief presentation and background on what mid-century modern architecture is, and then I'll be turning the program over to Ms. Charlotte Burkhart from Oakland County, who will be actually presenting the award to Lawrence Tech University and their students.
Thank you.
As many people know, Southfield is the first-ranked suburb of Detroit. Southfield undergo a profound change following World War II, which was not unique to Southfield alone, but reflected shifts in American life. Suburban living, subdivisions, and home shows were the norm. New designs for home and living space, creation of the modern shopping mall, Cold War concerns. We even had a Nike missile base constructed here in Southfield. It also saw a proliferation of television stations and towers, movie theaters, bowling alleys, gas stations, freeway and automobile culture came to being, and corporate campuses were built. This house on Lone Elm in the Cranbrook subdivision was given away at the 1957 Metropolitan Detroit Builders Home Show. Both winners guessed the number of nails in a jar as 77,757 in 1957. The exodus from Detroit began in the 1950s as families embraced modern suburban homes with the latest in kitchen and bathroom design, patios, multiple baths, hobby and utility rooms, attached garages, spacious yards, etc. One-level living of ranch homes became very popular, and it was during this time that Southfield was the fastest-growing city in Michigan in the 1960s. These are a couple examples of residential split-level homes and ranches built throughout the city in the early 60s. Here's an example of the international-style home in Washington Heights. Another international-style home in Washington Heights built in 1968. This is a unique ranch home built in Northland Gardens in the early 60s. Southfield was also known, copied around the world. The modern shopping center was born here in Southfield. As many people know, Northland Mall was opened in 1954 and was designed by Victor Gruen, and it featured public spaces and art, separation of foot and pedestrian traffic, free parking, underground deliveries, and package pickups. Also, Marshall Fredericks was an artist who developed this boy on bear design that was recently featured in Detroit Sunday paper. Northland surpassed all expectations in retail sales. The intersection of Northwestern and 8 Mile became the most traveled in Michigan. This mall spawned 29 office buildings, restaurants, 3 hotels, a movie theater, and other retail, a hospital, and numerous apartment buildings, all in Southfield. Many other developments followed in Oak Park and Detroit. These are a couple examples of that development: the former Stouffer's restaurant, which is now the Telecom Credit Union, and several of the Northland office buildings. Another unique development at the time was Northland Theater, built in 1966. And Southfield was home to many luxury apartments, including North Park Towers. Also, corporations built their headquarters here, moved to suburban locations after World War II. For example, Standard Oil was one of the first large corporate offices in Southfield in 1957. Michigan Bell Northwest Service Center, and most notably, Reynolds Aluminum Regional Offices built in 1964. This is award-winning design by Yamasaki, and for those who don't know, he was the designer of the Twin Towers in New York City. And I think one of the most iconic buildings that capture the Jetson style of the 60s is the Federal Mogul World Headquarters, built in 1965. Smaller office buildings and started to branch out from Northland along Northwestern Highway. The Albrecht Company building is another example. And note the colorful glazed bricks on the building. This is very typical of that style. The former Maccabees Insurance Building, now Donner Advertising. The Ira Kaufman Funeral Home, some institution. Even Southfield City Hall is an example of mid-century modern. Benai David Synagogue, Sherry Zedek Synagogue, and the St. George Romanian Orthodox Cathedral. Now, in the summer of 2011, working off of some of the research and work from Councilman Cypher's 50th anniversary of Southfield, Planning Department and the city partnered with Lawrence Tech University's Masters of Urban Design. We had 3 interns work with us during the summer of 2011 to do an inventory and analysis of both residential, commercial, and institutional significant mid-century modern buildings throughout the city. Part of their design guideline was to develop a vernacular of the unique features architecturally, both for commercial and office structures, residential, and this is an example of one of the inventory forms on the Reynolds Aluminum building that the students partook throughout the summer. And we have an example of a poster which highlights some of the significant features of their work, and it's on display in the lobby outside of the chambers. Finally, the next steps is a public education and awareness, promotion through calendars, posters, brochures, a driving walking tour, partnering with Lawrence Tech on symposiums, lectures, and academic publications, and finally, historic designation for significant buildings and areas. I'd like to ask the mayor and the council president to come to the podium. Ms. Charlotte Burkhart, recent past president of MAP, also with the Oakland County Economic and Community Affairs, is here to say a few brief words and to actually present the award to the students. Yes, please.
As Terry mentioned, my name is Charlotte Burkhart, and I've just completed my 1-year term of office as the president of the Michigan Association of Planning. But I'm also the principal planner for Oakland County, and so I am doubly proud to be able to be here to have a project in Oakland County be selected for this award. It's my privilege to be here tonight to present the Outstanding Student Project Award in front of the Southfield City Council. And before I get into the project, I just want to very briefly mention some of the criteria that was used by our out-of-state panel from Georgia to judge student projects. We had 5 main criteria that they looked at. One was innovation, the originality of the concept, or appreciable refinement of existing techniques or procedures, transferability, the potential application to other locations, projects, or areas of planning interest. I know this is something that we at Oakland County would be very interested in using these guidelines. The quality, the excellence of thought, the analysis, the writing, you saw the graphics, and the character of the presentation. Implementation, the effectiveness of the work, the ability for the proposal to be carried out or promise to show that it's going to be carried out, and the fact that it was comprehensive, that planning principles have been observed, especially in considering the project's effects on other public objectives. This award program is intended to recognize exceptional work by students, really the best of the best. And so it's my pleasure to present the Outstanding Student Project Award for the Mid-Century Modern Design Guidelines to the Master of Urban Planning Design at Lawrence Technological University in concert with the City Southfield Planning Department. I think these guidelines are going to be an essential tool to keep significant structures and districts intact. The guidelines not only define the style and identify significant structures, but also provide recommendations for enhancement through the use of case studies. The students went out and gathered a lot of input from local historians, architects, academics, and they comprehensively identified, documented, and inventoried the city's significant resources. The project is defined by its high-quality design elements and a comprehensive planning effort that provides for a successful and relevant management. So congratulations. And on behalf of the I'd like to present this award to you. Thank you. So why don't we take a picture? Yes, absolutely.
Can we introduce the students?
Turn your award around. Turn it around backwards to us.
Professor Bergeron is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Lawrence. Thank you to the council. Again, my name is Constance Bodura. I guess we should introduce our students.
Yes.
We have two of the three students who actually did the work with Georgia Crode, David Lewis, Michael Mason. Missing is Carolina Ferraro. She has returned to Italy. We also have Matthew Galbraith, who is a current student and was the nominator. So we wouldn't have the award without Matthew. He worked very hard on the nominating form. I'd also like to introduce Chair Scott Shaw. Scott Shaw is the chair of our Department of Architecture for the College of Architecture and Design, Lawrence Tech, and here representing the college and the university. Thank you all. We're very thrilled and very proud of our students, of course. I just want to make three quick points about the work. This, we feel, at the college, is really a remarkable opportunity to collaborate with you, the city, through hopefully a mutually beneficial partnership. First, I'll talk about how it benefits the students, and then how it benefits you, hopefully, and then maybe how it benefits all of us. So, first of all, we at Lawrence Tech are a very student-centered university, and so we want to put our students in the best possible position to succeed, and partnering with Director Crode, exposing students through this coursework to excellent professionals such as Terry and his staff, Councilman Cyber. They really did get an absolutely wonderful experience. They learned a lot throughout this whole process. And also, in a sort of a service aspect, they are serving their greater community, not only the current citizens, but hopefully future generations of citizens through this work. Second, in terms of, hopefully you see it as a mutually beneficial partnership, is a way for our students to bring their technical assistance to the city and supplement the planning department's excellent and extensive capacities beyond what Director Crode might normally be able to do. Many of our students, as you know, they're master's students, or they're graduate students. They're already professionals in their own right, and we hope that bringing their expertise is a positive asset for you, bringing that from the university to the city. And then last but not least, these types of projects, hopefully with the recognition that such awards bring, benefit the reputation of both the Master of Urban Design program and the City of Southfield. reinforcing that the work that's being done here is bleeding edge of the highest quality and certainly award-winning. So thank you so much. Would you like
I just wanted to add the appreciation of the city. I just recently had a very heartfelt conversation from a physician who grew up in Southfield, who now has his practice and some extended investment in the city in healthcare. And he said, you know, I'm excited about Southfield right now because you are poised to be a Renaissance city. And the ideas and capturing what we have and looking at it and documenting it, giving us an opportunity, and you said it very correctly, for generations to come. Because before this council and before the city, we have some tremendous opportunities to redevelop ourselves with the city center board, with the DDA. And so it is with that partnership, because we are the university that was named after me, we really have a great opportunity here to have a wonderful partnership, to really put the legacy of this body and council, and to hear that Southfield could be a Renaissance city was very empowering to me. So tonight this is very appropriate. Thank you all for your hard work. You're professionals already. But know that we welcome your input because you're young. And so when things transform, you'll be able to drive by with your children and say, you know, I had a part in that, and it really makes a difference. So thank you so much.
This is just one of those things that makes us so proud to be able to acknowledge the work that's been done here. You know, Lawrence Tech University is a jewel in the city. I hope you know that we know that. And we're so proud of the work that Lawrence Tech does and the staff. We really are. We've known the people there for years. Some of us have been here through several presidents, and we've known them all. And there's such a relationship. It's really a strong relationship, and we love this university. Mayor Lawrence said that the university was named after her. What year was the university founded?
That's totally relevant.
We're very proud of you. You are a jewel in our city. You mean a lot to us, and the partnership that we have is very important to us. And we're happy to have you here and happy to be part of this program. So thank you so much.
Ms. Seymour, I'm going to Go ahead. I would just like to add that we tend to be a throwaway society, and some of our mid-century modern buildings now are 60-plus years old, and yet they're a very distinct architectural style that I'm of the belief that we can capitalize on. I look at what's happened in Kansas City and Phoenix, for instance, which have embraced their mid-century modern architecture and are working to preserve it rather than have it bulldozed for the next best thing. So I hope that we can do historic designations, work with the owners of these properties, and at some point do architectural tours of Southfield, and certainly Lawrence Tech would be a great partner in that. So thank you very much for taking up this call.
I would just like to make one comment. I have always been concerned about the Minoru Yamasaki building, which was the Alcoa building one time. It's a work of art. I had the great pleasure of meeting Minoru Yamasaki at an earlier time, after that building was built and before the trade center was built. And it's a jewel to me. It's a work of art. If you see anything happen to it, I would be really devastated. It just needs to have something around it to kind of, I guess, show it off, and hopefully the next use of it will be one that will preserve it. So thank you again for all of this work and for coming here and participating. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming. Hope you guys it again.
Next, we have appointments. Mayor Lawrence, introduction of your fire captain and reserve coordinator. If you would...
City Council, and to the viewing public, we have the opportunity today to accept the appointment of one of the stars in our city, and that's Captain Bill John. Per the charter, the mayor is responsible for establishing a civil defense organization and appointing a director. The current term for this function is Emergency Management Manager. The city's emergency management function is established to comply with state law and city code. The role of this division includes preparation for and recovery from man-made and national disasters that affect both city government operations and citizens. Federal grants help to support this operation. At this time, I would also like to say that our long-term emergency management director, Frank Coots, has decided to retire after 13 years of service in that capacity. This is a great opportunity that we have because Mr. John has 22 years in the fire department and has moved up from firefighter to paramedic to lieutenant and then to captain reserve officer. He was honorably discharged from the U.S. Air Force, and before coming to Southfield in 1990, he worked as a firefighter and emergency dispatcher in Arden Hills. This opportunity that we have to take on the responsibility of having a director of emergency management, looking at our budget, being fiscally responsible, and tapping the best person was a team effort. And I'm proud to say, helping me in this decision was our Chief Rally, who was very supportive, and our city administration. So as we sat at the table and to make this decision and come to this point, we are very excited. And Council, I would like at this time to present to you Mr. Bill John for appointment as our new Director of Emergency Management for the City of Southfield. So, Council, I'm sure we need to take the oath here, so if our City Clerk will come forward. And once it's come forward, you have family here to come.
Yes. First of all, thank you, President, Council Body, this is my wife, Terry, my son, William II, my mother-in-law, Ms. Wrightford, and my cousin, Tom, from Detroit Fire Department.
Oh.
You'd like to raise your
the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Southfield City Charter, and that you will faithfully perform the duties as our emergency manager and for the city of Southfield, County of Oakland, state of Michigan, according to the best of your ability.
I do.
Madam Clerk, before he signs, the council has to take their steps.
Madam Chair,
Pertossi.
yes, I'd like to make the motion to approve the Director, Emergency Management.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Pertossi, supported by Mrs. Jordan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried.
Mayor, could you introduce the family of the chief young man? Especially a handsome young guy there.
Honorable Mayor Lawrence, Council President, Council Body, citizens of Southfield. Man-made or natural disaster can be devastating to our infrastructure, our citizens, and our private partners. When a disaster occurs, the role of emergency management is to reduce the loss of life and property. We do that through an all-hazards approach of preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. No community can do this alone. I will build and maintain relationships with our county, state, federal, and private partners. This role comes with a great deal of responsibility. I stand before you tonight ready and willing to accept this role, and I will do it to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
Before you come up, we were deciding whether or not you'd been elected to take this position, so we missed the introduction of your family. Could you do that for us again?
This is my lovely wife, Terry John. My son, William Major John II. My mother-in-law, Miss Ann Wright-Moore. My really little cousin, Todd Moore.
Before you come up, there are two gentlemen in the audience that I'd like to recognize here as well. Here are my husband, who's a fire chaplain, he came out for tonight's ceremony, as well as Reverend Bert Slater, who's a Southfield fire chaplain. So they want to commend you as well on your action tonight.
Thank you for that, and I would be remiss because they're very supportive and they pray.
Congratulations all.
Madam Chair, there are two appointments that I would like to bring forward tonight, and
Should we take them one at a time, Mayor?
we sure can. I would like to bring up Mrs. Syrian Baldwin to be on the Historic District Committee, Ms. Baldwin, if approved, her term on the Historic Commission will run through November 2015. I wanted to just make the comment, Ms. Baldwin has been very active in the schools and in the community. The Historic Committee, as we just heard, is going to be very important. And we have really tried to fill this position, and she has accepted and understand that the preserving and recording the history of our city is going to be paramount for us, and I would like for that to be a legacy of ours. I just wanted to comment that I've had discussions with Councilman Bacassi. We know that we have Councilman Cyber, who both have a wealth of knowledge, and Councilman Lamb, with things in the city. And one of the things that I was watching all the fanfare for the Detroit Historical Museum and how they have meticulously documented the history of the city, and this report that we just received from Lawrence Tech is just a sign that we have a story to tell, but if we don't preserve it, we won't have it. So I'm bringing to you for appointment Ms. Baldwin, and would like to ask for approval by a vote.
I'd move the appointment of Sunsaria Baldwin to the Historic District Commission of the City of Southfield.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Cybert, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried.
At this time, I would like to bring up Ms. Lenny Taylor. I'm making a motion, Council, to appoint her to the Planning Commission. Many of you know that we are in some deep discussions about development that's coming forward. So I propose to you, we normally appoint effective the night of the swearing in, that you approve the appointment of Ms. Taylor with the effective date of December 10th, which will be our regular council meeting date. That will allow the commissioner who's serving to participate in hearings that are coming up that is going to be a very high-profile vote. So I bring before you now the appointment with the effective date of December 10th.
Madam Mayor, I would just like to mention that some of the council members have asked that while we plan to approve Ms. Taylor for this position, they've asked if we couldn't extend or delay this actual accepting the office until a little later so that we have a transition between Mr. Roy Bell, who is our current planning member and is involved in a lot of things that are current, and we'd like to have a smooth transition. So there has been some discussion and some interest in just delaying that until I think possibly after the holidays in December, but I mean, very little work gets done. So possibly the end of January, February was the suggestion. I'd like to know if council is still interested in doing that.
Madam Chair, I would, in all due respect to the former Commissioner Roy Bell, who's just been absolutely great at attending all the meetings and doing a great job, both planning as well as being the alternate on the appeals, that we approve it according to the mayor's desire. And I say that because we have a meeting on the big item on the 28th, is that correct, Mr.
Yes.
Chair? So that will be over, and I think there should be some time in case it's tabled, and I think the holidays, nothing's going to be done at the holidays anyway, so I think the 10th is a good date to get feet wet, and I'm sure that Mr. Bell will be around to give input, because he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of info of what's happened, transpired. And also, so I'll move that Ms. Taylor be approved according to the mayor's request and to the Planning Commission.
I'll support.
And I just wanted to add that Ms. Taylor has served on the Planning Commission and has been an elected city council person and has dealt with every phase of development. And we appoint council members that are elected, and they're in the middle of plans that have been made. And there are, on this body, 6 other commissioners. We have 2 architects, we have an attorney, we have a developer, and we have Ms. Taylor will be added to the 2 community representatives on this planning commission. And I have nothing but good things to say about the service of Mr. Bell, and I would hope that the council will approve the appointment of a very knowledgeable and committed and excited candidate here for the Planning Commission.
We have a motion by Mr. Perkowski and a support by Mr. Moss. Any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to acknowledge Mr. Bell's service on the Planning Commission. In this the planning process, the projects that are under consideration come to council last, and very important to me in being informed that they make decisions are reading the Planning Commission meeting minutes. And I find many times questions I would ask, Mr. Bell has asked in the Planning Commission. So his service has been, I think, very beneficial to the city for many years. And personally, to me, as one council member who is reviewing the proposed project. So I particularly appreciate the service of Mr. Bell these years. And I'm sure that knowing Roy, that he'll work well with many to bridge the transition.
Any discussion? Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, I'd also like to add my thanks to Roy Bell for helping me. Even though I am a past member of the Planning Commission, it's been very helpful for me to pick Roy's brain after I start to read the Planning Commission minutes. And there are some things that the absence of not being on the Planning Commission, seeing the plans on a day-to-day basis and only getting them when they finally get to us, it's been very helpful for me to think my way through how I'm going to address this. So I would say to Ms. Taylor that you have some pretty big shoes to fill, and I would also say that you, to use a well-worn phrase, need to hit the ground running and spend some time really learning all about what goes on at the Planning Commission. And because we need to get the big picture of where we're going to go in the city of Southfield. And it all starts with the Planning Department and the Planning Commission. And if the Planning Commission doesn't do their job right, it very likely could change a very important project, and we might make the wrong decision. So it's important that you, like I say, hit the ground running and learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. And if you can't learn that fast, go a little faster. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would just like to add something. We've all known Lenny Taylor for a long time through various channels. She did serve on the council for a term. Many of us consider her a friend. I know I do. I used to refer to her as my little sister. Back in the day when we belonged to a certain club, political club here in the city, I know that she's going to be very conscientious. I remember dragging her out to a site and said, you have to go and look at the site. And it just kind of, I think, opened her eyes, but I know she's a very conscientious person. I would like to say about Mr. Bell, he is the most knowledgeable person on our Planning Commission, and one of the most knowledgeable people that we've ever had on the Planning Commission. Since Seymour Mandel left, I think we've had lacked some historic knowledge, and his knowledge and his application of his knowledge and his homework and his research are outstanding. He set a very high standard for all of us. And as Mr. Frazier says, we have big shoes to fill, and I hope you will consult with him and all of us if we can help him in any way. And to Mr. Bell, I want to say you've been a treasure to this city, and I know that you will continue to be. I value your support, I value your counsel, I value the contributions you've made to the Planning Commission because they have been tremendous. And thank you for your service, Mr. Bell. And I think we should all applaud him for that.
I agree with my colleagues in what they've spoken, but I do believe that both of these appointments tonight are very important. The Historic Commission appointment, the Planning Commission, and we're in really tough times looking at every development that comes to the city. So we can't rubber stamp on every planning item that comes forward, but really taking a serious hard look to see if it's best for the city of Southfield. We really put you to that charge tonight. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried. Congratulations.
To the attorney, if I may ask a question while they're doing this, should the swearing in take place on December 10th, or can it be done today?
I think that the motion was for confirmation effective on December 10th, 12th, so I have no problem with the swearing in, subject to that confirmation date.
And the other,
Does that mean that Mr. Bell will serve until December 10th?
Until December
And
10th.
we can do that, I mean, because this appointment would not be effective until December 10th. We can do that. So, under the charter, he would continue to serve until... We've never done that before that I can recall. I have not seen that done either, but as long as... I just want to make sure that that we're technically right.
Madam Chair, another question. Mr. Bell also serves on the zoning board of appeals, and I forgot how
That will not be changed.
the law read that it was that the person on the planning department serve as a zoning board of appeals, or how does that work? Or can he remain as the alternate on the zoning board of appeals?
Is he the alternate?
No, he's
No, he's not an alternate. It's a regular meeting. He is a regular member, and we appointed him. We appointed him.
Yeah, but I'm talking for the marriage, so to speak. Does the person have to be on the planning department, or?
He would remain on the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
Unless something...
Yes, he
Yeah,
remains
all right.
there, and that is the council.
I just wanted to
He
clarify
remains,
everything
yeah.
so that everybody knows.
It's not changed, correct?
You will raise your right hand, please. Do you hereby swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Southfield City Charter, and that you will faithfully perform the duties to the Planning Commission and Historical Advisory Board, and for the city of Southfield, County of Bolton, State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
Yes.
we have a minute?
Madam Chair,
Pardon?
I make a motion that we approve the committee of the whole meetings of September 10th, 2012, and the regular meeting notes of September 24th, 2012.
Motion by Ms. Jordan, supported by Mr. Cybert. Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I have a change to the minutes of September the 10th that I'd like to recommend, and it's on page 2.
Page 2.
And if I recall, it's right in the middle of the page,
Okay.
and it's the two paragraphs the first paragraph starts out, Mayor Lawrence asked about having a shelter at the park. If memory serves me correct, Ms. Carlock replied that she will work with the building department and Fred Zorn, and that there are problems with the barn, and it needs to have a sprinkler system and some other changes. So the changes would be that instead of saying she is working, that she will work, and then the sentence that says there are problems with the current shelter, it's rather than current shelter, it's the barn, and then it needs to have a sprinkler system and other changes. And then the next.
Hold on.
Okay.
There are problems with the barn.
Yes, and then the barn, cross out, just say it.
It, okay,
Needs to have a sprinkler system and other changes.
and other changes.
And then the next paragraph is just a one sentence. There should be a period after information. So it was cross out and a schematic drawing for the shelter.
Changing that sentence also.
Yeah, just put a period after information,
Yeah.
and then cross off the rest of that
But
sentence.
is that what was the way it was actually said at the meeting? Is that what you're saying, that this is?
If my memory serves me right, that's right.
You're all right.
Yeah,
The schematic drawing for the shelter, that was.
Right.
All right. More information.
You want us to check the tape on that?
Wouldn't be a bad idea,
these
these things.
We'll check the tape to
Okay.
make sure that was.
And if you find a problem with that, you can.
you change it back.
Right.
But
change
that's-
it back. But we'll just expect you to make those changes and give us a revised copy, but we're approving with those changes, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. We have a motion by Ms. Jordan, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's get the changes. Opposed? Motion is carried. Come to the consent agenda, and I'm going to read these items by items for people that are watching at home, and for those in the audience who probably may not have all of the information that we have up here. Item CA is the annual agreement between the City of Southfield and the Michigan Department of Transportation permitting city public works employees access to state rights-of-way for public purposes such as maintenance of roads and facilities. The agreement is effective January 1, 2013. Item CAB is the annual agreement between the City of Southfield and the Road Commission for Oakland County covering snow and ice removal on county roads located within our boundaries. 10 mile, 12 mile, and Losser. That's boundaries, 10 mile, 12 mile, and Losser. This ensures a consistent standard of snow and ice removal throughout the city's major street system. The county will remit $90,728 to the city for these services. This is the same amount as last year and covers about 2/3 of our cost. The city absorbs the remaining cost to provide a uniform standard of safety and travel within the city's major street system. The revenues and expenses for this agreement are included in the 2012-2013 major streets budget. Item CAC is a 2-year renewal of the contract with CoStar Group of Baltimore, Maryland, to provide specialized database services for our business development and assessing divisions. Databases provided include sales comparables for commercial properties, available commercial space for lease or purchase, and lease expiration dates, all such information being continuously updated. The annual agreement is for $26,568, a reduction of 11.5% from our last contract. Funds are provided for in the 2012-2013 budget for this purpose, and will be requested in future budgets as council may approve. The contract covers the 2-year period ending October 31st, 2014. Item CAD, assist the Southfield Public Library in providing enhanced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week online research capabilities for its patrons. Encore Synergy is a new online searching tool that allows a patron to search the full range of the library's resources through a single search box on our website. It makes the library's website easier to use and more powerful. The software was demonstrated at the October 29, 2012 Committee of the Whole meeting. It is fully tested and in use in a variety of public libraries. A 3-year contract with Innovative Interfaces, Inc. of Emeryville, California is requested, with first-year cost of $14,000 and each subsequent year cost being $11,500. Funding is available in the 2012-2013 library budget through savings in other library functions and will be provided in subsequent year budgets as council may approve. Items E, F, and G provide for the annual acceptance of state and federal grants for the continuation of the variety of training and employment services offered by the Southfield Career Center. The total initial amount of funding is $2.1 million out of a hoped-for total of $3.3 million anticipated in the 2012-2013 budget. Further grant funding is anticipated dependent on a variety of economic and funding considerations. Programs are scaled back to live within resources provided. The Southfield Career Center continues to be one of the most outstanding services of its type in the U.S., serving both City of Southfield residents and persons from a number of other jurisdictions within the service region defined by the grant authorities. Council, we need a motion.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Jordan?
make a motion that we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Support.
Mr. Frazier?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Patsy?
I have some questions on B, and I think I talked to the administrator about it. Lashford Road is now, has an extra lane for 1 mile. We have to maintain another mile of concrete and salt. We pretty well covered as far as, I think you answered that question to me the other day, because you were.
We will remind the RCOC next year when we negotiate with them that we are in fact performing more service and see if we can get at least the 2/3 portion funded by the road commission. Road County makes sense with their formula.
When you look at it over the winter, if we have a hard winter, that's a lot of salt. You do 1 lane of 1 mile. The other is the CoStar database contract. My question is,
Which item is that, Mr. Patsy?
CAC, all the data that they supply, they don't have, I don't believe they have what the leases are on the respective buildings or an average. When people use that database and they're looking for office space, it would do well for someone besides getting a hold of the manager or whoever the rental agency is to see what the average lease agreements, or not the agreements, but the lease amounts would be. Because in most cases, it's whether it be $18 or $20 a square foot, and some of the buildings, as they show the building and what is leasable and what isn't, that they could possibly put in an average.
Through the chair, I'd like to call Ms. Freeman up from our business development, and if that data is insufficient, then let's talk to CoStar.
CoStar does make their best effort to gather the most accurate data. They update the information every 45 days. They do have relationships with the property managers and the building owners. I believe that because a lot of the information is negotiable, a lot of the rents are negotiable, it's hard to get a perfect number, but they do make their best effort to gather the correct information.
Could we, through the chair, could we have a little chat with them tomorrow to see
Absolutely.
if if we could get a little bit better information in that regard.
Yeah, their offices are located in the city of Southfield in the town center, and we do meet with Michael on a regular basis. And so I will discuss that with him and see if there's an effort to get better information for our properties and community.
But mostly because the office space gets so competitive, you know, and I'm not asking them for every lease agreement, but to give an average so that people can look it up and who plug into the data and see, you know, if they're going to move in with 100,000 square feet, they know what the average is or whatever. It kind of helps to get the lease on the buildings.
Absolutely. Most of the leads are given through my office or one of the other people in the planning department perhaps to generate information for the people that are looking for office space. So when we do talk to them and we are helping them with the search, we do explain that to them and, you know, that it is negotiable.
Thank you. The other question I had was on, it could be actually be E, F, and G. I recall that the funds were cut back by either the federal or state government. I don't know why they're running out of the Career Center, but are we gaining any part of that $1 million back by getting approvals of these grants?
We have
And if my figure is
expert
not
witness here.
correct, please correct it.
This Ms. Bailey from the Career Center.
Hi, Marlene Bagley, the manager of the Career Center. And what actually happens is the federal government releases down to the state, and then the state holds it for a special project until they've deemed that the career centers of Mission Works agencies in the state should be given extra money. And then they have special projects like the National Emergency Grant or the Dislocated Worker Program, and then they give us the money. So it's dispensed throughout the whole year. So
Are we ahead or behind?
well, right now, we're behind about 10%.
When everybody's looking for a job, they cut us, huh?
Yep.
So I just want to clarify that, see if we're still behind them by approximately 10%. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion by Ms. Jordan, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Next we come to public hearing. Mr. Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first public hearing is DP 1245, SP 1289. Special use and site plan review request of Brick Apple Sundance, Inc. to construct a new 2,864 gross square foot Taco Bell restaurant with drive-through and associated parking in the B3 General Business Zoning District on property located at 24705 12 Mile Road, on the south side of 12 Mile Road between Telegraph Road and Lockdale. I have a brief video presentation.
Site plan review request of Rick Eccles of Sundance Incorporated to construct a new Taco Bell restaurant on property located at 24705 West 12 Mile Road, on the south side of 12 Mile Road between Telegraph Road and Lockdale Street in Section 17 of the city. The subject property, as well as the property to the east, is zoned B3 General Business. The property to the north across 12 Mile Road is zoned RM Multiple Family Low Rise. The properties to the west and south are zoned OS Office Service. With regard to the existing land uses, the subject property is developed with a parking lot that was used for new vehicle storage. The property to the north across 12 Mile Road is developed with the Poino Woods Apartments. The properties to the west and south are developed with an office building and associated parking lot respectively. The property to the east is developed with an auto dealership. The proposed site is to contain 1.12 acres of land after the existing lot has been split. There will be 125 feet of frontage along 12 Mile Road and a depth of 392 feet after the lot split. The
The special use request is to allow the construction of a freestanding restaurant within the B3 General Business District. The submitted site plan reflects the construction of a new 2,864 gross square foot Taco Bell restaurant with drive-through and associated parking. The parking required for the development is 32 spaces, with 32 provided on site. The landscape provided conforms to ordinance requirements. The elevations reflect a mix of stone, bricks, ephes, and glass. Issues considered by the planning department during the review of the special use and site plan were standards and conditions of the special use requirements of the B3 General Business District regarding standalone restaurants. The petitioner is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security, and the proposal is in accordance with the Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan noting regional mixed use for this parcel.
Before opening the public hearing, the Planning Department received a special use and site plan request on September 7, 2012. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this matter on October 24th and made a favorable recommendation. Also, the Council Site Plan Committee reviewed this request on November 19th and made forwarded it to the City Council. A representative of the applicant is here to make a few brief comments before the public hearing, and I'll be available afterwards to answer any questions that the Council may have.
Good evening, Madam President and Christine Council. My name is Wayne Perry. I'm Design Incorporated Engineers and Land Surveyors, right?
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Yes. Representing Sundance Incorporated. This parcel that we're requesting is the westerly 125 feet of the existing Tamrock Auto dealership. It sits south of 12 Mile, immediately to the east of the Commercial Drive access. Off of 12 Mile, access to the property will be provided through the existing entrances, both from the Commercial Drive on the west side, as well as to 12 Mile Road through an existing entrance and an ingress-egress easement. The Commercial Drive to the west has provided access to this property since the days when it was originally the restaurant that was formerly there.
Red Lobster.
Thank you, the Red Lobster. So, yeah, this is the site of the Red Lobster. The Commercial Drive originally provided access to this site and will continue to do so. So, with that, we're working with the neighbors both on the west side as well as the existing Tamrock Group property owners to establish a cross-access easement across the north side of this property, providing ingress and egress from the Commercial Drive to the remaining Tamrock property, as well as reestablish the Commercial Drive easements that provide access both to the bank, the office building, as well as what will become the Taco Bell site. So, with that, I will answer any questions if you have any.
Well, it's a public hearing.
Really, I'd have to open the public hearing and have us answer questions after, so I'll do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, now. Thank you. I declare the public hearing open.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037-0155. I just wanted to say that I'm certainly in favor of this particular project, but I hope that Taco Bell works a little bit harder to keep the parking lot clean. That was an issue when they were at 9 Mile and Telegraph, and be good corporate citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Geraldine Amato, 9 Mile and Evergreen. I wish to make some general public comments. Councilor Frazier will not take too much offense. Based on, for example, what Mr. Charette had refuted some comments I made about controlled agendas. Under this private commercial jurisdiction that we're now operational under, you've noticed most of the agenda items have to do with commercial contracts. And I was visiting your Bird Park a while back, and I noticed...
Ms. Lottle, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you, but you need to address this specifically.
I am addressing this. This has to do with business as usual. In doing our master's will, we can negotiate contracts with one another, legal business contracts.
I'm going to interrupt you one more time. If you're talking in generalities, you need to address your comments.
Look, I'm coming from a member of the public. I'm not a business person. I'm not involved in real estate. I'm not involved with these business enterprises. As a member of the public, you give a measly 5 minutes to say something. You wouldn't even let me say what I would like to say.
I'm not giving you
Well,
time.
you're not being unreasonable.
No, I'm not timing you, but council wants you to stick to the subject.
I am sticking to the subject from my point of view. You're not sticking to the subject. The subject is a public hearing, and I should be able to say what I want to say as a member of the public. Is that a legal status or not? There's an attorney there, right? Is it legal to say that a member of the public coming here should be able to say what they want to say during a public hearing?
No.
They shouldn't be censored or constricted
No.
based on arbitrary projections on what you say the agenda item is about.
Yes, the agenda item is what you are supposed to address. You're going to be on the general comments section later where you can say whatever you want. And people are telling me that you must stick to the subject. And
I am sticking to the subject. You're censoring me.
I'm not.
Are you all in agreement with this censorship, that I should not speak what I want to speak as a member of the public at a public hearing on an item?
It's a public hearing on this particular item.
Yes, and I'm addressing this particular from my point of view.
Talk
Why
about
are you
a Taco
willing?
Bell, though? We're trying to just get to the plan of the Taco Bell.
All right, if I was going to talk about the plan of the Taco Bell, the masterminds have constructed parameters for your agendas. So here's another one. You can mess around and set up another business establishment, a national corporate entity on a plot of land out here. And as I started to say, I was at your Bird Park site, and I noticed on one of your plaques that Southfield used to be a farming community. I've been here since June. I've seen absolutely no farms anywhere. We are being set up as dependent on agendas that will not allow us to survive in an economic collapse. And we're doing business as usual according to the master's plan, not using our own minds. As long as we're willing to be mercenaries and to facilitate the same agendas over and over again under this private commercial jurisdiction, which we do not have any direct control of. None of us in this room are free agents. Just as I, as a member of the public, are censored or tried to restrict what I have to say. If you just let me take 5 minutes, it'd be a lot simpler, and then let me sit down. But you got to harass me and nobody in this room, none of you are free agents.
No,
You should be concerned about that.
I am concerned that we are trying to conduct a business.
Yeah, but you're trying to put something on the agenda that I'm trying to...
But you're not talking about
relate to.
that. You're not talking about Taco Bell. You're talking about the worldwide issues.
This is related to the worldwide issues. Are you happy to be dependent on Taco Bell for your food when the economy collapses? We are working with an agenda that is going to do us in. We're being set up for ruin. So we can play around with our resources and establish new business establishments in places where there are others, and we're not addressing the fact that this economy is headed toward a disaster. And none of us, whether you're a corporate mouthpiece or a political mouthpiece for a controlled political entity, is going to resolve the fact that we are going to be in desperate straits, that we're not preparing for it. We're spending time on such issues as this, which eventually will do us in. We have no local food production here in this area for the populace that resides here. That should be a concern. Taco Bell is not going to feed us. I went to a public school meeting not too long ago, and they had a very excellent presentation on a token farming, gardening on a plot of land that the developers didn't want. One school, a think it was the Lathrop Southfield School, I'm not sure. That should be not just a token project, that should be a Southfield-wide project and reestablishing food production for the local populace right here. Instead of doing business as usual, spending our time and resources, what little we have of them yet, on such repetitive issues that are reinforcing the control that we are working under. You try to put something else on the agenda here, other than a commercial contract, or giving awards to people who have been good mercenaries and went along with programs, you will get static from the higher up, because the municipal corporation is a subsidiary of the corporate state of Washington, D.C., which has nothing to do with the lawful principles of the Republic. We are far astray from lawful government. This private legal commercial jurisdiction is under the control of people who are not even nationals of this nation. They have no loyalty, no patriotism to this particular country. We are being used, we are being abused, and we're being set up. How many seconds do I have left?
This is up.
My time is up.
Your time is up.
Any questions? Good evening.
My name is Brian Jones, 5,000 Town Center.
Can't hear you back here anyway.
And I'd just like to congratulate Taco Bell on developing yet another venue to provide jobs for the youth. And I believe that this is a good development. It's going to create a stronger economy in Southfield and provide jobs to people who may not necessarily have so many skills. And they may provide an outlet for people who do have skills and trying to get themselves through school to have gained employment. On a lighter note, I think you guys are doing a really good job with Taco Bell. The food is great. And, I think the council is addressing things appropriately. But in retrospect to what the last person just said, I think she probably could have just cut to the chase and said that it'd be a good idea to start maybe a food co-op program and maybe some community gardens in light of, Southfield's history in agriculture. I think that would be a more appropriate way of addressing that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have community gardens, just so you know.
Okay.
Anyone else? This is public hearing.
My name is Gary Ramsey. I live on West 10 Mile. I would be happy to furnish my address to the clerk.
That would be fine.
I just want to say that since we are going out on YouTube and live, I think there's some risk to people standing up here because that means they're not other places at this time, which is why I made that choice. I'm a little concerned about this development. I happen to bank next door at the First Place Bank, and the traffic in that area is quite horrendous. And the fact that this is as close to the corner as it is, and traffic going west is going to have to turn into this facility, presents some issues. But I think a bigger issue is the fact that we are taking just a little piece of a larger development, and we're piecemeal developing that corner, which is already kind of a mess. And I'm thinking in terms of the fact that maybe we need to be, now that we're getting development, we need to be taking a bigger look at the general area. Since we've got another Taco Bell proposal that's coming in next to the high school, which is only taking up part of a lot, we're going to have a similar situation over there. And I just am concerned that if we don't look at the further long-term future, we're going to just have a hodgepodge and a mess. We apparently are fast food haven, and I guess that's going to continue, but I am concerned about not looking at what else is going to go in that area, because it's not going to stay a parking lot, and we could be expanding the traffic problems just incredibly.
Thank you, Ms. Macy. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishes to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Council? Mr. Cybert.
To the petitioner, one minor thing, on the last page of your schematic, page A4.1, I assume this is the typo at the bottom, that the elevations are switched?
Yes, both pages, 4-1.
Yeah.
4-1.
South is north and north is south?
I understand that to be the case, correct?
Okay. You wouldn't want the rear facing?
Not at all.
I wouldn't think.
No, we do not, those have, I was informed tonight, those have been reversed, we'll correct that.
Okay, thank you. And this is going to be identical to the Taco Bell at 9 Mile and Washer, correct?
Yes, it is. It is the identical same building, same exterior facade, brick and stone, just like that.
I just think it looks outstanding. When you drive by 9 Mile and Telegraph at night, the way the building is lit and presents itself, it's extremely attractive. So I congratulate Taco Bell on lifting up the appearance of their food restaurant.
Thank you, David. Corporate would appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, I have a few questions for our planning director. I share some of the concerns with Ms. Mazie, especially because I live in the area and I also bank at the bank next door. And I want you maybe to possibly expand upon the Oakland County Road Commission report, because that was my first concern too. Turning left anywhere on 12 Mile and Telegraph is an adventure, especially certain times of the day. So I know that a report came out. Can you expand on that? Because traffic was my concern, especially in that area.
Through the chair, the traffic and the turning were concerns raised early on in the planning commission process. We contacted the Road Commission of Oakland County. 12 Mile Road is under their jurisdiction. We spoke with their traffic engineer. He had no concerns about this proposal adding any detriments to the existing traffic flow. He said that 12 Mile Road in this area is designed to handle this type of commercial development in the area. It was pointed out previously that there was a Red Lobster on the site, and that there's that shared private easement, really a private road where we'll handle most of the turning traffic, which is a better situation than having a driveway in and of itself. With regard to another comment Ms. Mazie had brought up, the Planning Commission also is concerned about piecemeal development in the area, and the commissioners have put it on a future task to look at the entire sub-area of 12 Mile and Telegraph and look at a corridor and work with the council on a strategic plan for development, as we hope will happen and continue to happen in that corridor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ms. Mazie brought up another point that's a concern of mine. I know that we have Taco Bell being developed. We have a Wendy's in that area coming forward. If I'm not mistaken, Burger King is redeveloping, and there's a concern that we're becoming a fast food corridor, and that we're going to have to go to widescreen when we film the council meetings, because we have to have a smart restaurant development strategy. And I don't think we solved that problem tonight. I'm going to support the Taco Bell development. I don't think that there's a minor issue in a whole broader theme. I think we need to probably even discuss it at a committee of the whole, just a restaurant development strategy, because we're losing out, and I don't have a problem bringing the Taco Bell into the community, but I think we need to have stronger options too, in addition to the fast food that comes into the city.
Through the chair, if I just can make one brief comment. This is not unique to Southfield. This is part of a national trend over the last 5 years with the downturn of the economy. People don't have the money to go out and spend on the sit-down, nicer restaurants that they had in the past. People are looking for value. Also, this area has a lot of high-density office workers, and office workers like choice, convenience, and fast food during the lunch hours. That's not saying that we don't need to look at long-term strategy, but this is a response of the free market.
Yeah.
The only good thing I can say is with the proliferation of fast foods, we are getting the A-plus plants and their new prototypes coming in. So we are seeing major redevelopment. Each one of these costs at least $1 million to redo. So at least we are seeing some investment, but that's a good point, that we need to, look at long-term strategy.
And I agree with Councilman Cybert, the development at 9 Mile and Telegraph is excellent, and it happened so quickly, too. Do you have a proposed timeline for the project developing or building up this building?
I believe we'll break ground on this probably mid-April to early May, and it'll be up and operational hopefully within 90 days.
Great. All right, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Bukowski.
Yes, I want to make sure under your recommendations, Terry, that on 5 where the petitioners provide cross-access drive, I asked that in the site plan committee that we provide the showing of the roadway as it approaches into the restaurant itself, Taco Bell. That's the one that the drive to the east.
Yes.
It flows and diagonally goes, or circularly goes right into that northerly driveway.
Correct.
And I just want to make sure that that is what we're talking about on 5. Where, where the petitioner's talking about that. Because when you look at the plan, you show the lines that designate the property lines, but it really shows that it's cut off if you look at the plan itself. And I think that should show that it's opened up.
Correct, and that was the part of the final revised drawings after tonight will be submitted that way, as well as item number 9, where we state building to be constructed in accordance with submitted elevations shown on sheets A4 and A41, and I added as amended to be corrected. And I did speak to the applicant about the typos on that page earlier.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I know a couple of people have already mentioned the 2 things that I want to also talk about, and that is the traffic on 12 Mile and Telegraph. Right now, the little strip center that has a Starbucks, that's very difficult at most of the time. If you're going west to make a left turn into that, you're beholden to people with a conscience that are driving east on 12 Mile to give you space to go in there, and that's pretty chancy. And if we continue to develop that property, I know the Oakland County Road Commission said, yeah, you had a Red Lobster there, and the road is designed to handle that. But when you put 2 or 3 or 4, whatever amount ends up there, now you have multiples of cars trying to turn there at the same time or during busy periods. So I think, as Mr. Moss has said, that I think we need to put our heads together and put a plan together of what we'd like to see there and bring the Oakland County Road Commission in with it, because Telegraph and 12 Mile is the #1 area for accidents. And I think we're just asking for more accidents every time we ask another patron to make a left turn going west across traffic. Especially those folks that don't know enough to read the sign that says no left turn on, or no turn on red, and all that, they ignore that. So the other item I have is, did you work with the fire department? Because in Southfield, the fire department insists on having a Knox box. And I did not see, I may have missed it, but when I looked at the prints, I did not see any indication on there that a Knox box needs to be put in place on that property. A Knox box, do you know what a Knox box is?
Yes, and should be, that was in discussion with the fire department, we've agreed to do that.
Okay, but I didn't see a notation on the prints at all.
Should be on the architectural plans, I'd have to check.
Okay, I admit I may have missed it. But the things that I'm concerned about are the traffic, the left turn going into the property, and a long-range plan for that piece of property, so that we know what we can expect and what we would like to see in future development. So,
Yes, and just through the chair for your information, on sheet A1, it does mention that a Knox box, verify exact location with the local fire inspector.
see, I told you I could have missed it.
Many of those items, through the process, the building department and fire marshal give preliminary comments, but after they receive approval from this body, then they are required to put detailed building plans in, and at that time, those things are finalized. But thanks for the note.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anyone else? I do have a comment on the site, and I agree with my colleagues who want to see a plan for these areas. I was very disappointed. First of all, I'm going to say about this Taco Bell. See, aesthetically, the building is very attractive. I think you did a very nice job. I have no issues with that at all. I have an issue with what we are doing or not doing in terms of looking at these sites on a larger scale to see really to have a plan for it. And I have to give credit to Mr. Roy Bell, who apparently was asking for this and certainly understands the importance of having this. And we didn't do that before you came in, because we have some of these sites that have easements all over the place. And I know when Red Lobster was there, it was a different situation. After they left, the bank came in, we have all kinds of easements and, collaborative, people can use this, do that, and it's an accident waiting to happen. And that's not your fault. I mean, you did everything right. But I do agree that we really need to look at these parcels, and I think they need to come to council for our input as to what we got to do with these sites. It's far more than just a planning commission thing. We need to make long-range plans on these areas. But I'm going to support your plan because I know you've done a nice job, and I don't want to turn away. I don't agree with the premise that everybody wants fast food restaurants. We've had some successful restaurants here and still have that people are willing to go to when they want a nice event. So I'm not convinced about fast food proliferation at all. Anyone else? Mr. Picasso.
Madam Chair, at the site plan committee meeting, we were talking about those access properties that also belong to the bank, which are just south of this location, and the rest of the balance, of the properties. The difficulty is when you plan the zoning is that it's already zoned, and you have a situation where you had two viable dealerships, the Buick and Dodge, that needed the space, and they both were taken from Tamaroff. And we were left with two actually large auto dealership pieces of property which function as dealerships, but probably don't anymore. So the difficulty is that it's zoned and it's all over one individual, and I know that to tell somebody that you can do certain things on that site are most difficult when the zoning is already approved for it. However, I understand that there was a department store that was looking at that entire balance of that site in one of the 12-mile road telegraph area. So we might be getting some kind of a request for the entire site.
Right, I understand what it was before, I know that, but we need to be looking at these things before something comes in. We need to have, I think, a plan on all of these larger sites or abandoned sites.
Madam Chair, and maybe Terry can explain, but a person owns all this property, and when something comes up to them and it's zoned properly, it's hard and difficult to deny it because it's all zoned. And I think the thing we should do is call in Mr. Tamaroff and work with him on the vacant parcels so that we can get some good development on that excess land that he has, he's stuck with. So I would submit that that's what we really should do, work with these people who own land that are hard to keep out, and see what we can do to assist them.
If that's what it takes, then I think I would agree with you. All right, we have, do you have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Frazier.
I move that we approve GP 1245, SP 1289.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Frazier, support by Mr. Stiver, to approve the site plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has carried.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
When are we going to have free tacos? Who's that, in the last meeting? Free tacos, good day or something?
Are you ready?
Yes,
Through the chair, our next and final public hearing is GP 1242, proposed ordinance to amend Title 5 zoning and planning of Chapter 45, zoning Article 4 of the Code of the City of Southfield by deleting sections 5.371 and adding new sections 5.371 fence regulations. As you may recall, we've had several study sessions. There's currently a moratorium in place until December 9th. We're here to hold a public hearing on this item, introduce it, and hopefully act on it at December 10th council meeting.
there's nothing more in your presentation then? All right, this is a public hearing. We declare the public hearing open.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-352-9188. I was at some of the study sessions when you were talking about revising this particular ordinance, and I'm not clear on whether or not there is such a thing as grandfathering things in, and if the businesses that do not have the standard that you're trying to set forth as it relates to fences, will they be required to get with the new program? I noticed that with some of these new projects, you guys are asking them to put up masonry walls and all of this expensive stuff, but we missed the mark with some of these projects. For example, and Terry Crowe and I have talked about the fence behind Tel 12 Mall. It's not the Southfield standard that the mayor speaks about. It's not the Southfield standard that I think even Mr. Southfield Councilman Prokopsky talks about. So I just want to know, are we going to require everyone that's got a fence within our 26.6 square miles to be in with the new ordinance? Is there such a thing as grandfathered in, and they won't have to comply? And if there is such a thing as grandfathering in, please explain it to the public.
Through the chair.
You want to wait till it's over and then talk?
I'd be happy to.
Geraldine Amato. Again, these zoning and planning parameters are imposed upon the locals. The United States Commercial Code is what we're operational under. And notably of late, many of these zoning enforcement practices are being imposed in order to seize people's properties, those who have no large political power. I bring up these general comments because, again, I want to assert that we are playing at government. We do not govern ourselves as we are taught in our public schools. We are governed by others who are not benevolent. And while we continue to do their bidding, we're allowing them to set us up for disaster. Farming communities have been zoned out of Southfield as far as I can see. ranching and farming and raising food for ourselves to support the populace actually living here has been zoned out of existence. I see lawnscapes, many of which are not even safe to walk upon or sit upon and have a picnic because they're poisoned with all kinds of chemicals, and prohibitions in many areas from even having a garden on the ground. These type of practices were not the original ideas of the locals. These practices have been imposed on us for nefarious purposes, because as we are made more and more dependent on those who now control us, lock, stock, and barrel, to use an old farming saying, as long as we continue to let them control us, we will be controlled out of existence. As long as we, on the temporary matter, are willing to be mercenaries, we have a certain reward in our consumer society. We think we own what we possess, we own nothing. But some of us still have discretionary sources in possession, and we could assert the use of those things for other than what the masters lead us down the road to invest our time and resources in. I come here on my own time. I don't know what you think I might come here to say anything what for. I have learned through hard experience that those in control of our lives are malevolent. They plan to do us in, and they're setting us up. And as long as we continue to be merry mercenaries or reluctant mercenaries because we think that's the only way we can have our livelihoods, we are digging our own graves. We must resist what is happening. We must restore order, and we must get closer to the natural order. Your first presentation on the agenda tonight was citing all the marvelous building projects. We are building against nature. Nature is our friend, and as we separate ourselves from the natural world, we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to destruction. This economy is not a free market economy. It is a controlled economy. And the three gangster cartels are the mother of all predatory lenders. We are dealing with these zoning and planning activities that have nothing to do with our survival. Quite the contrary. We are zoning ourselves out of the ability of controlling our own lives, the local resources, and the ability for us to survive in a serious economic downturn, which is clearly in the near future. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else that wishes to address this issue? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed.
Madam President, I would move GP 1242, proposed fence ordinance to the zoning and planning.
Motion by Mr. Cyber, supported by Ms. Jordan, that we approve GP 1242C, the fence ordinance.
Can I ask you a question?
Certainly, Mr. Frazier.
Now, you said that we had a moratorium until, Mr. Crowe?
Yes.
You said we had a moratorium until the 9th?
That's correct.
And tell me again what you said about the 10th?
Well, I think this is standard practice where after the public hearing, you introduce the ordinance and then you act on it at your next regular scheduled meeting, which would be December 10th.
I thought it was 30 days.
The charter would indicate that you cannot introduce and enact an ordinance at the same meeting.
But
There's
anytime
something about a 30-day period in between.
There's no requirement for 30 days, but it's just not,
Not the same meeting,
except if it's an emergency.
except if it's an emergency ordinance.
All right. All right. That's my question.
I was just trying to clarify that the enactment will happen concurrently with when the moratorium ends.
Okay.
Did I have a support for Mr. Cyber? Jordan, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion has carried. Next, we have...
Now we need a...
Ordinance number.
You're right. We need an ordinance,
1598.
1598, we need to introduce this one.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by
Support.
Mr. Perkowski, supported by Mr. Frazier, to introduce ordinance 1598. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done. Next, we have a site plan, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, this is not a public hearing, as you know.
Not
The
public
site
hearing.
plan-
Not public hearing.
1290 site plan review request of Wade Davis from AutoZone Inc. to demolish an existing Big Boy restaurant and construct a new 7,381 gross square foot AutoZone auto parts store in the B2 Planned Business Zoning District on property located at 25555 Groden Drive on the northwest corner of Groden Drive and Telegraph Road. I have a brief video presentation.
Of AutoZone Incorporated for a new AutoZone auto parts store located at 25555 Groden Drive on the northwest corner of Groden Drive and Telegraph Road in Section 20 of the city. The subject property, as well as the properties to the north and south across Groden Drive, are zoned B2 Planned Business. The property to the west is zoned RM Multiple Family Low Rise. The property to the east across Telegraph Road is zoned RC Regional Center. With regard to the existing land uses, the subject property is developed with a Big Boy restaurant. The property to the north is developed with the Merriweather's restaurant. The property to the west is developed with the Woodridge Apartments. The property to the east across Telegraph Road is developed with an office building. The proposed site contains 1.19 acres of land with 360 feet of frontage on Groden Drive and a depth ranging from 100 feet to 239.88 feet. The submitted site plan reflects the demolition of the existing Big Boy restaurant and the construction of a new 7,381 gross square foot AutoZone auto parts store with associated parking. The parking required for the development is 40 spaces with 40 provided on site. The landscape provided conforms to ordinance requirements. The elevations show a mix of brick, EPIS, and glass. Issues considered by the planning department during the review of the site plan were site plan review standards of the zoning ordinance, 8.23-foot waiver of front yard building setback from the zoning board of appeals. 50 feet required, 41.77 feet provided. 36.04 feet waiver of rear yard building setback from the zoning board of appeals. 50 feet required, 13.96 feet provided. The proposal is in accordance with the Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan, noting technology corridor sub-area for this parcel. The petitioner is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security.
Through the chair, the planning department received the site plan request on September 11, 2012. The planning commission held a regular meeting on this matter on October 24, 2012, and made a favorable recommendation. The council site plan committee reviewed this request on November 19th and had several comments, one of which was to review whether or not Groden Drive landscape median island could be adopted by AutoZone for beautification and maintenance purposes. I have spoken with the city engineer. They don't have any problems with site clearance at that issue, and I believe that the applicant has agreed to work with the city on developing that median. And with that, I'd like to invite the applicant to make a brief presentation before answering questions from the council.
Good evening. My name is Wes Berlin. I'm with Professional Engineering Associates. I'm the civil engineering consultant for this project. My office is located Ward 3. Some information about the project. We are proposing the reuse of 2 drive approaches for access of our site that come off of Groden Drive. The existing site is predominantly impervious with existing building and parking areas. We're actually proposing to significantly reduce the impervious surface on the site. In conjunction with that, we're providing a stormwater detention basin for the 100-year design event in accordance with the city and county requirements. The material loading area and dumpster area are located on the west side of the building, and they're properly screened from the properties to the west and north of our site. We've added pretty significant landscape screening along our north building wall that faces Merriweather's. And some amenities that we're providing on the site is bicycle parking that's directly in front of the store access, and then a crosswalk that connects our parking area to the public sidewalk on Groden Drive. AutoZone has also made very significant building improvements above and beyond what their standard prototype is. I'd just like to point some of those out. Their standard building prototype is just a painted CMU masonry construction, and with the building they are proposing a brick facade, some multicolored accent bands around the building itself to kind of break up some of the color expanse of the brick. They're proposing pilasters or bump outs along some of the building walls, again to kind of break up some of the vast expanse of brick along the building wall, and then also a roof line cornice that basically serves as an accent architectural feature along the roof line. We've worked very close with the planning department, and we feel that we have a good plan that works well for this site. With the building and parking and landscaping that we're proposing, we feel we're adding significant aesthetic improvements to the existing facility. And this is also a good plan for AutoZone. They're actually proposing the larger of their prototypes, which directly translates to a very successful sale projection for the facility. Additionally, we believe this will create a long-term employment opportunity for the city. When AutoZone comes to a community, they're there for the long term. And obviously a tax base for the city as well. I would like to thank you for your time and consideration on this project, and I would be happy to answer any questions or discuss further any comments or issues you may have.
The site plan committee had an opportunity to take a look at this. And one of the items that I brought up then, and I'm going to bring it up again now, is getting a garden sign as opposed to putting the sign on a tall pole. Was that discussed with your with the owners, and what was the outcome? Because it still shows in the site plan that you've got a pole for the sign.
Yes, I did discuss that. Actually, the same night that we had that meeting, and their concern is there's a couple things. The southbound traffic on Telegraph is 50-mile-an-hour posted speed, which is pretty fast. I actually drove it on the way here, and it is reasonably difficult to see the existing sign until you get reasonably close to Groden Drive. In addition to the one-way traffic in front of the site and the posted speed, there's pretty significant landscaping that's north of our site, and right at the northeast property corner with Merriweather's, there's actually 2 pretty tall deciduous trees that would block any sort of visibility to a monument sign.
I'm just adamant about a garden sign. I think it would enhance the appearance of the city, and I don't think we need a pole sign in that area. And in fact, you said that over 90% of the time we should do a garden sign as opposed to pole sign. So I just would prefer council that we really give that strong consideration for making that a part of this. It's a nice garden sign in that area.
And they would not have an issue doing that. It's specific to the landscaping that surrounds the site, the area north of the site, the one-way traffic in front of the site, the posted speeds. All these go into their consideration as to whether or not that's something they can live with. And they've told me initially that that's not something that they're
currently Zone B2, Planned Business District.
Terry, is the garbage area, disposal area, is that going to be matching brick? Is that going to be wood, is it?
No, it's going to be a 6-foot-high masonry wall with brick to match the building facade.
And the other thing, you mentioned about the boulevard on Groton Drive, did the owners decide whether or not they're ready to adopt it?
Yep, again, we took your concerns seriously at our study meeting, and I went back to my client, and to try to enhance the aesthetics of that corridor, they have agreed to work with the city engineering and city engineering and planning departments to come up with a landscape.
They would maintain it as well?
I didn't specifically discuss that, but I can talk to Allison about that.
I'd like to have that, one of my comments from the site plan committee, that they adopt it, meaning that they landscape it and maintain it along with theirs. It would enhance their facility as well. I have no question. Mr. Fraser's got it.
Mr. Fraser.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One is, in the material, and I've talked with our planner about this, as we all get older, our eyesight isn't quite as good as it used to be. And in the material, it said that you're going to have 6-inch high reflective address numbers on the building. Is that a hill you want to die on? The reason I say that is, and you've already brought it up, there's 50-mile-an-hour traffic going by there, and if someone is looking for an address, it's pretty hard to see, because of the setback, it's pretty hard to see a 6-inch high letter or a number, and boy, it sure would make it a lot easier if those numbers were larger than. Sure. When I talked to our planner, if you go up Northwestern Highway and go into Farmington Hills, the numbering that they have on those buildings, it's real easy to see because they're a lot taller. Okay. And maybe there's something we need to do with our ordinance on numbering. The other question I have, and that is on the elevation, is that a portico? That, is that a walk-through, that empty space on the left side of your...
Yes, sir, it is. There's a canopy overhang that's in front of the building with a column to support that.
Yes.
It's basically an empty space that you can walk under leading up to the front.
Okay, so it's to keep the rain and snow...
Yes, sir.
Out of...
You got it.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. That's what it looked like. I tried to figure it out, but...
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, if I could address, I did do some investigation. The minimum height of the address comes from the fire marshal. And I also, we will discuss with Mr. Gardella, our sign ordinance, to make sure it doesn't violate any signage issues. But that specifically comes as a minimum from the fire marshal. I think we can go higher.
Yeah.
And I'll work with the city attorney on some appropriate language for your consideration in the future.
Yeah. It seems to me the further the setback, the more difficult it is to read the addresses as you're driving by. Watching out for people that are texting. Thank you.
Just to Mr. Crowe, I agree with Councilwoman Jordan that garden signs are the way to go in the future, and we've got to get that sign ordinance in front of us quick, so that when these rejuvenated or reconstructed parcels are planned, that be a garden sign would be the only thing to put there, rather than these pole signs everywhere.
And again, I agree with you. I think it's a larger issue because we do not deal with signage during the site plan review process, and we need to work together with what the language is in the sign ordinance, and I know the council is considering these things, so I will get together with the building department.
Because a lot of communities today are just allowing only garden signs now, they're not allowing any pole signs, so I think it makes the city look classy.
Anyone else? I have to say, I know you're doing a nice appearance and you're doing a nice job with the site. I have to agree with Ms. Jordan. I think a garden, I mean, the hodgepodge that's happening in this kind of development in that area, it does concern me. It may be a perfectly legal use, but I think I don't like what's happening to some of our sites. And this is so close to Meriwether's and the areas around it. I agree that it should have a garden ground sign. I think there's something you could do to make it visible to people, and I do have a problem with that. Council, can you have a motion? I'm not going to support it unless, if you have garden ground sign, I will support it. I think you're in good approval of council, but I have to tell you that's how I feel about it.
Madam Chair,
Treasurer?
I move that we support SB 1290, the site plan for Wade Davis AutoZone Incorporated. Support.
Motion by Mr. Frazier, support by Mr. Moss.
Can we have an amendment, a friendly amendment to that about the island? I agree with Mr. Percotti about making this a package.
I think that would be a good idea. I do agree with you.
Okay, I will add that friendly amendment to my motion that AutoZone be responsible for the medium and growth.
I'll support that.
Support that, all right. So that's a condition, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, that is a condition. All right, we have a motion and we have your support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. And I also am opposed, but subject to change. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Frazier?
before we go into the communications portion, a question was asked about grandfathering, and Mr. Crowe was prepared to answer that, but we had him delay until after the thing, then we forgot about it, moved on to the next. The question was, what does grandfathering mean?
Oh, okay.
From one of the,
Yeah.
from the, one of the comments.
If I could, there's two comments that were made during the public hearing that I'd like to clarify. All existing fences become legal non-conforming fences. They can continue in perpetuity as long as they are not replaced by more than 50% of the value of the fence, or there's no new construction. So if someone has an existing fence, tears it down, and puts a new fence up, then they have to comply with the existing ordinance. If for whatever reason there's a fire or a natural disaster and more than 50% of the fence is demolished, then they lose their status as legal non-conforming and would have to conform. And that's spelled out whether that's a building, a fence, or other issues. So in essence, the term grandfathered is, I guess, the layman term of saying yes, they would be grandfathered in. There was a comment about the city does not allow farms. Actually, in single-family districts, if a parcel is 10 acres or greater and meets the other setback requirements, farms are permitted, and certain livestock are permitted with the exception of goats and swine. So the city does allow farming. We actually had a gentleman considering an urban farm of 10 acres, but farming is a permitted use in single-family if it meets the dimensional requirements that are specified in the zoning ordinance.
Plus, we do have a farm already that does do community gardening.
I was going to say, we're going to have the
Yes.
gardening.
Yeah, we have several, yeah.
Right.
More than one.
And we do have, you're right, we have more than one, so, go ahead.
When you said 50%, back to the grandfathering, the 50% of the value or 50% of the property? Same.
Through the chair, if you look at the ordinance under nonconformities, one of the standards is if 50% of the value of whatever that structure is needs to be replaced as damaged, then that triggers in that they have to meet the new requirements.
Okay, thank you.
All right, did you have a,
No, I just wanted to take that down. could be kind of distracting.
We're enjoying the view. All right, we did vote on this, did we?
Yeah.
Did we?
Yep.
All right, oh, that's right, and then you had it, okay, so we're all set.
You voted no.
Huh?
Then you voted no.
That's right, I did. How could I forget that? Mr. Fraser, your work is beyond estimation. You think I'm kidding, I'm serious. All right, we now come to the communications portion of our agenda. First person on the list is Ms. Geraldine Amato.
I didn't hear. Did they say something?
Ms. Geraldine Amato, communications, please step forward. And you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Farming may be permitted, but it certainly is not encouraged nor supported in any meaningful way, and it certainly, whatever does exist, does not feed the local populace. Most of our food here is coming from hundreds of miles away, sometimes thousands, and we're dependent on the internal combustion engine and other vehicles such as that to get it here. So any of those resources can be cut off, and our food supply would be a dire situation if you caught all the deer and bunnies and squirrels around here. We are living on a coast-to-coast, or this whole nation is a company town. Every corporation, every company, every business, every institution is a company store. We are taught in our educational institutions to have the mindset that the master wants us to have. We are under a private commercial jurisdiction. The 3 gangster cartels that are headquartered in Washington, D.C., the owners of which we don't know their faces, there's different rumors of who they may be, we only see their mouthpieces. They are the ultimate predatory lenders. We do not work with lawful money, we work with company script, which is bankster credit script. We work with credit. The monetary system is backed by nothing of substance. And those who control it, if they want to wipe out its purchasing value, they can do it with a click of a mouse. If you stash it under your pillow, or under your mattress, or in your safe, they can still wipe out its value. People used to be able to stash gold and silver. May Day, 1933, they called in all the gold. They said you were a hoarder if you had gold, and turn it into the government under penalty of whatever it was, so many years in jail and whatever. We are not even taught that history in school. Even the rich of our economy don't own what they possess. The hope of this nation is that if some people with discretionary resources in possession decide to apply those resources to turning the course of history, I argue that the ship of state of this nation is on a treacherous course. Unless the good people rally and do something to change the course, we are headed for disaster. Economic, political, social disaster. Last week I just made reference to a pagan symbol. In one sector it's called deceptively the Star of David. In another sector it's the square and compass of the Freemasons who build against nature. We have the apostate and the fake Jews, the apostate and the double-crossed Christians working together to do in other folks. They control the religious institutions, and there are also other double agents in the pulpits of every religious association that's incorporated under the USC code. No religious institution is a free agent institution either. No Christian institution is controlled by the Holy Spirit of the living God. Zion, that's referenced in reference to that six-pointed star with the overlapping triangles, is a biblical term. One English translation of the Hebrew scriptures, Psalm 2, actually explains who the so-called Zionists are. If you read that scripture, some of you who speak Hebrew or read it will probably get more significance out of it. but I remember one particular phrase in it where it says, who do these people think they are that they can plot together with the nations and overrule the great God Almighty himself? On my Zion, on my holy hill, I will install my king, and secure only those who seek refuge in the one I have chosen. To me, that references those who take counsel from the Holy Spirit of the one true sovereign God Almighty, and take their marching orders and move on out with courage and faith. Those who are marching to the drummer of the masterminds and the overlords of this nation are marching to the tune of the Death March. If we look into history and not taught it in the institutions of this nation, nor on the television screen or the movies or anywhere else, we will see the modus operandi of those who control the federal government. We saw it with the individual Native American tribes. We saw it with the African American slaves. And those same dynamics exist today. That six-pointed overlapping hexagram, that star, references the changing of the character of a nation. These people deliberately move forward to traumatize and assault. We could see that in the Pentagon. The Pentagon is not the lawful command of the people's military powers, but we don't question that anymore because we're told it is. The Pentagon is owned by the same people who own every other institution in this nation. They're a secret brotherhood. I personally believe they got rid of the dissidents on September 11th because I think September 11, 2001 was an inside job. It had nothing to do with foreign enemies, but the enemies within. One New Yorker years ago in the 1800s said, the deadliest of the nation's enemies always dwell within its borders. And it's from these internal enemies civilization needs to be saved. I can only hope that people who have more resources than I have, the only resource I really have is my ability to speak and say something about it. I have no real material resources to work with. But I can only hope and pray that those with some material resources and the skills and the knowledge and the wisdom to use them to set a leadership here to revive the spirit of the American Revolution and set a different course than where we're headed today. Otherwise, we can look forward to leaving a totalitarian state to the next generation of people. Any questions?
My name is Pamela Gerald. I am an independent voice for Southfield. If you are watching this meeting on Cable 15 or listening to my voice via YouTube or audio reproduction, I can be reached at P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155, or by telephone at 248-352-9188. And to my residents, I am just a phone call away. In 1991, the city of Southfield set the standard when they appointed Dr. Joseph E. Thomas police chief. In 2012, you, the Magnificent Seven, continued that standard by appointing Eric D. Hawkins police chief. I don't know what you think, but I think we have a damn good police department and with some of the best trained police officers in the country. I would like to share a story with you about Chief Hawkins. Chief Hawkins is a man with a vision for our police department and for the Southfield community. Our police chief understands the importance of involving residents in community policing. Chief Hawkins, along with two outstanding police officers, Kelly Pate and Devlin Williams, came up with the Southfield Police Citizen Academy. I refer to those officers as Southfield's dynamic duo because they work well together and do a great job implementing effectively community policing. The Citizen Academy started Wednesday, September 5th, 2012, and continued for about 11 weeks. We learned many things in the Citizen Academy. The most important thing we learned in class is that there is no normal in police work. For example, the incident that happened Sunday, November 11, 2012, was definitely not normal. That tragic incident occurred only a few hundred feet from these chambers, which shows that each and every one of us is vulnerable to events that we cannot control. But in Southfield, it's reassuring to know that we have a police force that can respond when the moment of truth occurs. The moment of truth happened that Sunday when the police responded to their own 911. To the Southfield Police Sergeant that risked his life for this city, the residents, and your fellow officers, I say thank you, and I hope you get well soon. In addition, we discussed how and why police do what they do. We talked about 911, how they respond to emergency calls, how residents should call in and report an emergency, and why dispatch asks the questions that they ask when they receive 911 calls. That's important to every resident. We also met other members of Southfield's finest, detectives and other police officers. They talked about investigations, crime prevention, neighborhood watch, tasers, CPL, and more importantly, the responsibility every resident has when licensed to carry a concealed weapon. If you are not ready for the responsibility, don't get a license. If you don't have the right temperament or emotional maturity, don't get a license. If you're not going to handle the weapon properly with safety in mind or obey the law, don't get the license. Then our K-9 police officers came in with their police partners, the actual K-9s. We have the best trained police dogs in the country. These dogs are trained in everything that they need to do, and remember, there is no normal in police work. These dogs are willing to risk their lives for their trainer and this department to fight crime. How amazing for a police officer and man's best friend to be so inseparable when fighting crime. Next, we learned that our police department takes every necessary precaution to be able to run that department or police station by mobile command in the event of a catastrophic weather condition or a major threat. Our police officer can really drive that big command vehicle. I was very impressed. Lastly, we had an opportunity to fire a police service pistol, a .357, and for me, that was the best part. We were given safety lessons prior and a demonstration on how to shoot. Our tactical team is trained, swift, and very effective with their weapons. I finally got my opportunity to put on a police bulletproof vest, and it felt terrific. Because I had not been to the gun range in about 7 years, I thought that I had lost it. Here's the proof. I haven't lost it. It just goes to show that when the training is right, you never lose it. To my chief, Officers Kelly Pace, Devin Williams, who I refer to as Southfield's dynamic duo, thank you for allowing me to participate in such an auspicious program, the very first class. To the residents, if you support the police department and believe in community policing, this is the program for you. And Mr. Charette, thank you very much for allowing that program to happen. I appreciate it. And here's my certificate. Thank you.
Mr. Gerard Mullen. I corrected it. It's fine.
Madam President, my name is Gerard Mullen. I am proud to say that since 1961, I have worked here in this city, and since 1968, I have lived here in my city, the great city of Southfield, which is a damn good city. My address is Gerard Mullen, 2012, @gmail.com. Tonight, I am not here to talk about those nice guys at Denzel, Council's favorite corporate criminal, and Southfield's best-known lying felon, and the city's #1 tax avoider. Instead, I'm here tonight to make the following suggestion to Council. That's you folks. In order to encourage greater citizens' participation in Southfield City government, I propose that Council award an annual prize to the person who makes the most appearances at the Council meetings during the public hearings portion of the agenda. The prize would be that the winner would have their picture, a full-page photo, published on the back cover of the Southfield City Calendar, reenacting one of their performances before council. This photo would be placed directly above the postal address. This would add needed variety to an already stale calendar. We're all sick and tired of the same old photos, year in and year out. It's time for a change. For example, in this year's calendar alone, there are 4, count them 4, as my Chinese friends would say, each meet some sheet. That's right, 4 full-page photos of none other than council's favorite project, you guessed it, Carpenter Lake, also known as Benzo Park.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. I do appreciate that you called these sessions with the public performances. I think that was a very creative thing to say. Thank you for your comments. Next, we have a request from Mr. Toby Rhodes.
My name is Toby Rhodes. I live at 17001 New Jersey, Southfield, Michigan, 48075. I'm here to speak about the threat to the public prosperity, safety, and security, namely the Southfield Police. I know a lot of people don't agree that the Southfield Police are a threat to the integrity of the community, but speaking as a black man, I think most black men would agree that the police are an ever-present threat to our safety, security, and our prosperity. They see us as good business. So wherever you have a lot of black people, you have a lot of police, because police know that they can attack people without consequence or any kind of repercussions. So they prey on us. And I've seen that here in Southfield. And I've lived in Southfield a long time. And I haven't had any problems until I ran afoul of police agendas. Namely, I wanted to speak out against the practices of Bank of America. Banks and police work together. They destabilize and demoralize communities so they can dominate them. No black man is causing our property values to drop. Black men aren't wasting our property taxes. Black men aren't unemploying people. Black men aren't preventing people from getting health care. Yet we're treated as public enemy number 1. And that's clear racism. But I see the racism as a cover for incompetence. And there's a lot of incompetence in the Southfield Police, because all you have to do is go into 46th District Court any day of the week, and you see all these black people being blamed. And it's not things that have to do with public safety, because think about the things that you see in 46th District Court. Loitering, littering, trespassing. Then you have possession crimes like marijuana. None of these things have anything to do with property values or property taxes or anyone's safety. And yet you constantly see a steady stream of black people and black men being accused in 46th District Court. Then you have things that have to do with contempt of cops, things like misrepresentation, fleeing and eluding, assault on the police. As if assault isn't enough, they create a special crime for the police. That's a misrepresentation. So you have that. Then you have the road taxes, all these so-called traffic issues, and they prey on black people once again, because none of these things have anything to do with keeping anyone safe. Like fire, clean water. The trash man has more to do with public safety than anyone. People have died from lack of sanitation. I mean, lots of people die. But we don't put the same amount of resources into trash pickup as we do into the police. Now, when you look at the police and the banks, they work together to destroy communities. Police destroy the property values, and the police waste the property taxes. And I've seen this because that always happens in black communities. People say, why black communities can't ever progress? And that's because the banks, through their predatory lending, are wiping out all the property values. They basically put boycott on any infusion of credit. Then you have the police criminalizing just about every activity out there. That has nothing to do with keeping anybody safe. And so, one thing I recognize is that you have to understand that there's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A lot of people see the police, well, who aren't black, as a strength. And black people have to recognize it, or at least black men have to recognize it as a threat. Now, if you're not black, you might say, well, what do I care? It's just happening to black people. But you have to understand that if you live in a community where there are a lot of black people, your property value is going to suffer. Because the banks and the police are not targeting black people just to target them. They're targeting them because they use them as guinea pigs. So whatever they do to black people get away with, they eventually do everybody else, and along with the help of the banks. So black people get inferior food, and everybody else gets inferior food. They criminalize drugs in black communities, and then they criminalize it with everybody else. They deprive people of their rights in black communities, and then they do it everywhere else. And I've noticed this, and that's why I noticed that the country in general just seems to be getting weaker and poorer, because people use the racism as a cover for incompetence. And there's a lot of incompetence in Southfield, because nobody's getting fired. Nobody's being held accountable. Nobody's being held responsible. It's status quo over and over again. We've had a financial collapse in 2008. Have any of those people who caused it in jail? Have any of them been indicted? No. But tens of thousands of black men have been accused and thrown in jail for the most pettiest of things. Because the banks see black people as a convenient scapegoat. Blame them. Don't blame us. Your property values are bad? Blame the black man. You lost your job? Blame the black man. You can't get health care? Blame the black man. Everything's the black man's fault in the eyes of the police and the banks. And as long as we go for that, things will continue to get worse, because we're not addressing the problem.
Mr. Rose, I have to interrupt you. Time is up.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a Brian Jones in the audience?
First, I would like to apologize for my lengthy soliloquy. The last time I made my presentation, I approached the situation with an overly macroscopic viewpoint. And now, I would like to request an interactive recognition process and a question and answer session where I'm going to be discussing more relevant issues exclusive to the Southfield area. And before I ask these questions, and there are 6 of them, I would also like to make 2 statements. First of which being, I'd like to request more emphasis on the attention to the youth in the community, and the second one being, I'd like to advocate Jeremy Moss to be given a stronger voice and active presence in the city council body due to his capacity to relate to the youth. That the council, most peoples are of an older generation, which is commendable for the wisdom that it provides, but we're dealing with a lot of issues nowadays that need a more youthful approach, unfortunately. My first question is, what measures will be taken to preserve the library and its functions and ensure the protection of its employees' access to programs? And I'm taking notes.
You're going to use up your time, because this is not going to be a question and answer, so if I want everything to talk about.
All right, and I'll reformat it, and I'll just give you guys the questions, and you can use it for food for thought, because this is going to be on videotape. My second question would be, what programs are being run and developed for the youth of every culture within Southfield? Third question is, how much funding is available for social and civil community activities? Fourth question is, what is the relationship between Southfield and the Detroit community, and how to create a symbiotic association? What can Southfield do to strengthen its neighboring communities, such as an outreach program to the youth from Detroit that participate in the economical productivity in Southfield? There are a lot of youth that come out here and spend their money and
engage in positive recreation from Detroit. Number 5, what can be done to revitalize the beauty and commerce at and around the Northland Shopping Center and along the 8-mile Detroit border? That region is becoming a source of blight, and it really doesn't have to, because there are a significant amount of resources in Southfield to begin developing that region. Okay, 6, are there and what are the Southfield City's agendas to address food co-ops, food banks, community gardens, shelters, and free meal centers for the low income and destitute? For there is a presence of these types of persons. Unfortunately, as we all know, the economy is starting to have some difficulties, and it's affecting people of the lower income status, and they are in Southfield, and some of them are coming from Detroit, but that's a reality that has to be addressed without trying to incarcerate people because of their economic conditions. And I actually came up with the 6th question because the elderly European American woman who spoke, she may be a little bit more excited about the issues, but she was right about some things, and we do need to focus on how we can feed our people with healthy, holistic food, and going out and going to the fast food places and nice dining centers that are accessible is good, but it also contributes to the poor health of our nation. And people are, from my understanding, the number 1 cause of death amongst Americans is heart disease. That comes from poor dieting, stroke and things of that sort. These are all diet-related issues. And I used to live in Oregon, Portland. I used to live in Seattle, Washington. Those are pretty liberal communities. And there's a lot of food co-ops. And there's food available, and a lot of these businesses can give and donate food to the food co-ops, the food banks for families who can't afford to fit the grocery bill, community gardens. From my understanding, you guys do have them. From what I just read up, listened, and observed to the activities of today, and I commend you guys, because that's great.
Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is Gregory Daniel Miles Jr. in the audience?
Good evening, I'm Greg Miles. I reside at 1916 Greenwell Drive. I'm here today to oppose the proposed change to the council's communications rules. I feel that recently the ability of residents to address their concerns to council has been constrained. For example, moving the communications portion of the meetings to the end. I feel that the proposed change would further make it harder for residents to address council. While I understand the frustration council may feel at some of the residents' misinformation or lack of decorum, I feel that people must have a way to address their local government in person. Most of us can't travel to Washington or, in some cases, even Lansing. You are the governmental officials that we have access to. You are our local governmental leaders. When the bureaucracy is broken, you guys are the super. Furthermore, while I, like you, often disagree with what some of the more antagonizing residents have to say, I feel that there is value in listening to them. Some of the details or facts they cite may be wrong, but they often have valid criticisms of city government, such as the long time it took the city to hire a new police chief. Even when I disagree completely with them, I find value in the knowledge that people exist in the city who hold their beliefs. I further believe that to restrict the ability of residents to communicate with council is unfair to residents who may have made arrangements in order to be at the meetings. For instance, at an April meeting, an active member of the community was dismayed when, although she was the first on the agenda, she was made to wait a little over an hour to speak before council. Oftentimes, other residents leave before they have an opportunity to state their concerns. I don't know why, but I feel that it may be because they have other responsibilities to attend to, such as family or work, when the meetings run long. I also understand that there is concern about how long the meetings have been running and the need to move items off the agenda to compensate. To that, I will say that I believe the residents should not be penalized for that. And in the coming weeks, when council schedules next year's meeting, it takes into consideration the need to meet more often. As to my knowledge, council has met slightly less often in 2012 than they have in 2011. I'm also unsatisfied with the council's proposed solution to give residents 3 minutes at the same time if council deems it necessary. I feel that this adds a subjective element to the rules that may not be fair. What if council never extends time for those who criticize them, even justly? It's through such criticism that many of the problems of the city are brought to light. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council, we're at the council portion, and the first item on our agenda here is the amendment of council rules of procedure. You know that in the past we have, going way back, we had allowed 3 minutes and for the public to speak, and then at some point in time we changed that to 5 minutes, and now there's discussion about going back to 3 minutes. And I just, before we discuss this any further, I want to mention the communities that have the different timing, so that we can maybe look to see, compare results. Those that have 5 minutes besides Southfield are Troy, Royal Oak, Farmington Hills, and Northfield. Those that have 3 minutes are almost 3 times as many. Oak Park, Ferndale, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Livonia, Novi, Beverly Hills, Pawson, and Bloomfield Hills. So the question is, we've talked about this in the past, it's up to council whether we want to amend the rules to go back to the 3 minutes. One thing I would like to say for people that are listening, some people come in here and talk without a prepared text. I know from experience and from belonging to the League of Women Voters that you can read a full page typed, single space typed, that means single line, typed in 2.5 minutes, talking normally. That's a lot of material in one full page. So you can say a lot if you plan it and are, organized and have it written down. But it's up to council whether you want to go back to the 3 minutes that we used to have, and which most other communities have. I know some cities, I think Detroit has a minute. I need, 60 seconds, either a minute or a minute and a half. I wouldn't oppose that. However, they have a lot of people that come to their meetings. And so I'd like to know what council would like to do, so we can move on. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution of having 3 minutes for persons to address this council. Just looking at tonight's agenda, we started with the first person at 9:05, and it's now 9:30. So we've heard 5 minutes from each of these individuals. Actually, 30 minutes of each individual, maximizing the 5-minute time frame that we've given them. So, yes, their input is important, but I believe it can be constricted to 3 minutes. What you have to say can be communicated in 3 minutes, and I believe that we have many items on our agenda that must be given full attention, and we start our meetings at 7 o'clock, and we have a lot of items on our agenda to address. And so I am in firm support of reducing the 5 minutes to 3 minutes and making people very accountable to what they say and very precise in what they say, because we have business to do here in the city of Southfield. And so, my father used to say, some people just like to hear themselves talk. And, I have to agree with that statement, because some people do like to hear themselves talk. And some people have legitimate concerns when they come and address this body. But I believe we have to reduce it to 3 minutes, and I will be supporting that.
I'd like to add something. Under our procedure, the chair can allow additional time for anyone if there are issues that really need to be discussed. In other words, if there's more to be said and it's relevant, it's extremely relevant, we can extend that time. Generally speaking, 5 minutes is more than enough. Many of you are speaking only 3 minutes, so it's more common than I think people realize. You can say a lot in 3 minutes, you can say a lot in 2 minutes if you have it prepared on a piece of paper. The size, single space type, you've got a lot of information in there.
But even if it's not prepared, if you know exactly what you're going to say,
Absolutely.
it can be communicated within a 3-minute time.
Right. It can be. That's just one way of having your, being concise. Any council, anyone that wants to discuss this?
Yeah, Madam President.
Mr. Moss?
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with the motion and the proposal. And that's not to say that I don't think that there's a problem. I just don't think that this is the solution to the problem. This is how I kind of see it. First of all, on our end, I think that we need to take the time clock and probably give it, and we're choosing a new council president tonight, and I think we need to give the time clock to perhaps our city clerk or our council secretary so that it's an unbiased person who's keeping the track of the time, and not necessarily somebody who's a policymaker being engaged on, more focused on running down the clock. That's just a suggestion that we kind of remove ourselves from a timekeeper and become active listeners. But I will also say on the other end of things, I think we can do a better job of keeping the time, and I think the residents can do a better job at making sure that they stay within those 5 minutes. And this is how I was kind of thinking about it. When I was in Michigan State, I was president of my fraternity. And one of the things that we always kind of talked about overly, way too much, there were important issues that we needed to discuss. We always got down to an argument over T-shirt color for events. We'd had different events, we had charity events, we had social events, and whenever we talked about an event coming up, the co-chair of the event would say our T-shirt color is going to be purple. And somebody would raise their hand and say, well, I don't want purple, I want red. The next person would raise their hand and say, we had red 2 events ago, I want green. I think that's what we're doing here with the time in this meeting. We talk about the time too much on citizens' end and on our end. And I can't stress enough that when the 5 minutes is up, the 5 minutes has to be up. It's decorum. It moves the meeting forward. It helps us organize better. And so when we sit here and we listen to residents who continually go past that 5-minute mark without a care in the world, it's aggravating. And I think it sets the tone from that point forward in the meeting. So I don't have a problem, I do have a problem reducing the time, but if this vote takes place, it's done in proper public fashion, I think then we're going to have the 3 minutes be the absolute drop-dead time limit. There has to be a respect for the process. There has to be a respect on our end. I think we need to have an unbiased, open, public clock. 5 minutes to us is the same as 5 minutes to you, is the same as 5 minutes to somebody who lives, in Timbuktu. 5 minutes is unbiased and objective. So I think we can stick to that. If the residents can stick to 5 minutes, you said what you needed to say, we can move forward on in the meeting. So I'm not going to support this because there's a problem. I don't think this solves it.
Do we have support for the motion? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
If you want to,
No,
I'm not going to support the motion. I can support the motion just to get it on the table. That doesn't mean I'm going to vote.
Okay.
But, so I can go ahead and support it, but that makes Robert's rules okay. Now we can talk about it.
All right. We have a motion on the floor, so we can talk about it.
Yeah. I am not going to support this. And one of the concerns that I have is that sometimes we try to find the most convenient answer, but we don't clearly understand the problem. And what came to mind when I first started looking at the 5 minutes, 3 minutes, was a few years ago I saw a captionless cartoon. And you first looked at it, and it was a picture of an automobile, and the hood was up, and there are 2 people looking under the hood. And if you looked at it a little bit longer, the car had a flat tire. So, what I think we're trying to do by reducing it from 5 minutes to 3 minutes is coming up with a convenient answer, but not the proper answer. Because 5 minutes is not our problem. The problem is that there are people, and Councilwoman Jordan kind of hit on it from what her father had said, is there are some people that have fallen in love with the sound of their voice, and they just love to hear their voice and can't stop when the time is up. And I think that's our problem, is we need to pay more attention to the boundaries. We need to pay more attention to the 5 minutes and have, and expect that the people that come to the microphone to have respect for the 5 minutes. And we need to work toward that and not reduce it from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, because frankly, 2 minutes is not going to be that much difference in the sum total of our life. And I think the people that decided that the Open Meetings Act required an allowance of people to come to the microphone and say their piece, are seeing some unexpected consequences, because I'm sure that they thought that people would have a serious reason for coming to the microphone, a legitimate concern, air it to the people that they were talking to, and then go sit down. It's not turned into that. It's turned into something other than that. And I think we need to get back to civil discourse and respect. You don't have to respect me, but respect the office and respect the position that we're trying to do. It's ironic that a lot of the people that come to the microphone are complaining about how we're misusing tax dollars, and yet they don't realize that the longer that they talk at the microphone, they're misusing the same tax dollars that they're accusing us of misusing. So I think if we can get people to honor the 5 minutes, I don't have any problem with keeping it at 5 minutes. That's my story, I'm sticking to it.
I wish you would find a way to suggest getting people to keep to the 5 minutes.
I tried when I was a council president, and one time we did take a 5-minute break. We walked away when it became apparent that there was nothing but a continuing conflict going on when the 5 minutes were up.
And that was an unusual situation.
And just tonight, one person talked for 6 minutes and 22 seconds. One person talked for 5 minutes and 16 seconds. One person talked a little over 5 minutes. One person talked just 5 minutes, and 2 people talked a little over 2 minutes, about 2 and a half, 2 3/4 minutes. I timed everybody just to see if I was on base or off base. So even tonight, they weren't honoring what we asked them to honor.
I would just add that, in brief, I think we're not fixing the flat tire. I said in brief, we're not fixing the flat tire with this proposal.
Do you have a suggestion for fixing the flat tire?
I would hand up, like in a debate, you have 15 seconds to alert people that their time is coming to an end. 15 seconds.
I've tried that, and people don't like that. They say I'm interrupting them.
Well,
but, maybe you can find a better way.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, something that others can improve upon. All right, so is there no support for the motion? All right, Mr. Picasso.
Yes, Madam Chair, I guess I agree with Mr. Fraser, Cyber, and Mr. Moss. But, we're talking about communications and dealing with council and getting their attention and resolving their problems. And I think on the communications today in this world, we have emails, we have phones, we have mail, we have, being on the street and being asked questions. There's many ways that you communicate with elected officials, and hopefully all of us, when we get the people that have concerns, we address them, because that's really what we're here for. And under the communications, when you file on Wednesday to be heard on Monday, most often, if there is a serious problem before it gets to council, administration is right on top of it. And in most cases, most of those real concerns are dealt with before they even come up here to council. So I don't think that in any way we're neglecting concerns that people may have in addressing city council. I think what really gets to me is that when we get repetition from the same people every Monday, and I would hope that may change, that when someone comes up to the microphone, they have a legitimate concern, they want to contribute to the city by saying that, council, we recommend something, this young man has come before us and made recommendations, several people have. And I think that the people who just want to vent should be able to vent. But I just feel that anytime you get before council, and of course our job really is to hear some concerns, that the 5 minutes is legitimate, even though I would hope that people hold their comments to something that is really a major concern or a concern to them personally, so that when they talk to council, we can actually deal with it. But when you look at even the items that were filed Wednesday, you really don't get a legitimate way of even studying for the issue, because, if you say what the concern is from Wednesday to Monday, most of us, council, would get to the administration and see if we could address it and come to some conclusion on it. But when something says what matters, in our lives, everything matters to some extent on some issues. But there's no way of resolving it, helping them, communicating with them before you get to Monday. So, and you get one, Pam, that I'll see you Monday, and we'll talk. Well, then, I guess that's all right if we have a lot of time. But this council has an agenda that is not just on this agenda. I mean, we have things that are of serious nature, both financial, planning, you name it. Meeting with our various boards, and when we line up this agenda, it just takes away the ability to put something else on the agenda that is needed to address. And I guess I just ask our residents or everybody who comes before us in communicating with us, just think of the amount of time that could be spent on being productive and addressing real major concerns in the city. Because there's a lot of concerns in every city today. And there just isn't enough time. And, when the council president sets the agenda, sometimes the administrator would like to add something to it, or a councilman wants to add something to it, and you look at it and say, well, what's the agenda look like? Are we overloading it? And when you look at it, you're overloading it, so you take some things off. And that's reality. And we're here to do business. I mean, this is a business meeting. We're here to address concerns. We're trying to get the city running properly and meeting all the concerns, as stated, of the residents and business communities and those who abut us as far as our city limits. But time is fine. But I will never. I just don't like to see limitations put on someone who has concerns. And they were well able to call me on the phone. They can call me, get my email. Those are all public record. You look me up in the telephone book, whatever you want. Meet me on the street. If you have a serious concern, you'll never be turned away.
Madam President, I just have one comment, and every council person can vote whichever way they want. However, what I've heard is time is important, and for this council not to take action on that by limiting the time that the public has to speak. We're giving them an opportunity. They have in this case would be 3 minutes. I mean, it's a hard decision that we'll have to make. But I guess from this point forward, should the motion fail, we'll just have to, there shouldn't be any complaining from the council people, because we know people are going to violate the rules. We've already said 5 minutes tonight, and Councilman Frazier has already timed those that have gone over the 5 minutes. So we can be assured that people are not going to follow the 5-minute rule that we have in place. So let's call for the vote, please.
Well, I just want to say something. I mean, we do have the ability to extend time when people have legitimate issues that need to be addressed right then and there, and we've always done that. We're also, every time we extend the meeting, we've got staff that are here that have to be to work early in the morning here, and we keep them late, and sometimes we keep them late just because we're hearing the same thing from certain people over and over again. Philosophical things. They're not asking for things that we can address. They're asking for world changes, or, let's go back to the days when we were all farmers and get rid of everything and plant our... We can't do that. And I appreciate that people have that point of view. A lot of people do. But we just can't turn the clock back and go backwards, and we keep dealing with these things over and over and over again. I think there's little respect on the part of some people for the fact that a lot of work goes into this meeting. We're here to conduct the city's business. We're keeping a lot of our staff late. I think sometimes it's very self-indulgent, but it's, council, go ahead, Mr. Moss.
I would just say, to that point, I think that we are punishing the people who do have comments beyond T-shirt color by limiting everybody entirely, if that makes sense.
Well, but you're missing the point. If they have a legitimate concern...
Then you're picking and choosing.
No, you're not. If somebody says, I've got a problem with loose dogs in my yard, and this is what they did, and this fence needs to be fixed, something that we can address. This is why we ask people on the form if there's something that we can address, take care of, and they say what matters. They don't say there's a specific item that needs... some people do come in and they say, I've got a problem in my neighborhood. There's something that we can take care of. That eliminates the necessity for them to come and talk to us because we've addressed their problem.
Then maybe we need to update the form. I don't know. I just don't think that reducing it by just a minuscule amount is going to... I will have the same problems with 3 minutes.
Well, the reason that this came forward in the first place was that there were people in the council that wanted it and wanted it to get done, and those people have apparently, some of them have changed their position. I don't care what we do. This is, council can vote whichever way they want. Mr. Lance.
Okay. I don't think we'll ever settle this. I've heard complaints from the council. Now all of a sudden they're goody-goodies. They don't please. They change their mind. Why don't we experiment? Let's take 2 months and we'll really know what to do. These same people come up, let's hear what they have to say in 3 minutes instead of 5 for a trial period. And then we'll see. We may be wrong. The youngster may be right, but the older wisdom may be right too. Remember that. So let's give it a trial for a couple of months and see what happens. We can't lose anything. What do you say, counsel?
I think I said at the last meeting, if it goes 6-1, I still stand where I'm at.
You can do whatever, you can say whatever you want, I'm going to say whatever I can.
And that's fair.
And I think that I'm wise and have the wisdom.
Well, this youngster's voting no.
That's right, yeah.
No.
Right now, we'll never know the truth. So, let's give it a chance. Let's give it a month or so. Not a big deal.
Well, it is true that some of the people, this is the last thing I want to say, but it is true that a number of people that have come each week and speak Some of them are finishing in 2.5 minutes, because they, it's the same old. So some of them can say, you can say a lot in 2 minutes. There's no question that you can. But I think it's time that we,
We don't know the right process until we try it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mayor.
sitting in the seat and watching the procedures, I want to get back to what Councilman Frazier said. I think in this year we have evolved to the point that we understand that it has to be consistency. There was a period when someone talked, other people would respond to it. The council has become more consistent in that there's been a period of time where there was debate back and forth between the speaker and the council. That has seemed to be resolved so that the person, the citizen, can actually address it. Sitting here, I have to say the council has improved this year. The one thing that has not improved is the timekeeping. And I know our council president struggled with that. We have a clock sitting there. I don't know why we're not using it, where it would clearly denote the amount of time that is being used. I wish we could learn to use it because it would be clear to everyone. We wouldn't have to say 15 seconds. It would be 15 seconds, and they would
I don't say 15 seconds. I used to try to stop, warn people, but then they felt that was interference.
But I thought the clock would resolve that, and that didn't happen. Even though different forms are being used, they're not consistent. The other thing is, there has to be a point, because there are some residents who refuse to adhere to the 5 minutes, that the mic should stop at that point. I have no problem with that. When you tell your time is up and you want to continue talking, cut the mic off. And it's done. But I have to say that it's not the time, it's the managing of the time that's the issue. And if we can get, and I've seen some great improvements on stopping it from being a debate to allowing the person to talk. And then secondly, having consistency that 5 minutes is 5 minutes. And Councilman Frazier tonight timed it, and they went all over. And then if there's no way to stop a person when they go over, then we're being held hostage. So it should be the mic should go off at that time, and then if they refuse to move, we do have the right to remove them from the auditorium because they are not complying to the rules of protocol. They're being disorderly at that point. So I think if we became more consistent and utilize that opportunity to use that clock and to be able to stop the conversation at 5 minutes.
Well, I have suggested that we look at turning the mic off because some people do that. I think that's an appropriate thing to do when people use it. I do think it's an appropriate thing to do. And if people have legitimate needs for answers, we're prepared to answer. We are prepared to answer. That's not what they said. I want to just one second, Mr. Sever. I want to ask our city administrator if you wanted to respond in any way to any of these. If there were any points that you particularly wanted to respond to.
Just briefly, because we have one person who, she's not here now, but I'll just say this to the individual that, with the de-energizing comments, there are 13 items that we dealt with tonight, and I will say that the work of the staff and the work of this body tonight, I think, is an example. I'm proud to be a part of it. Everything was done appropriately. We started off with the very theme that this person brings up, the respect history. So to be cognizant of it and to respect it. That's where we started. Every item on the agenda was handled with dignity, standards. There's nothing mercenary on this agenda. I don't know where that word comes from. And so without belaboring the point any further, I'll just say that I think the work that was done was outstanding and had the public in mind. The design standards we talked about, the safety concerns, items about streets and rights of way safety, information so we can make better decisions, library being 24/7, 3 employment grants to try to get jobs for people, fighting for grant monies, fighting for equity for this region, and trying to be part of the comeback of the region, and then two businesses where we got high design standards, good discussion, and a commitment to go the extra mile in landscaping and expression of signage concerns. I don't know how you can do much better in terms of a concern. There's a lot of people in this organization doing the right thing every day, working hard at it. And so to the person who has a right to speak, I just say that we will not be de-energized by the negative tones of the particular individual. Thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
Yes, I actually would like to remove my motion from the table, and it's because I think we need to look at this process a little bit more. And hearing the mayor's comments in terms of making sure that we give full respect to, which I believe we are giving full respect to the audience, but I want to make sure that that same respect comes back here.
That's right.
So we need to put some boundaries in place. If we're going to give them 5 minutes to speak, then we must demand from them that there's no noise from the audience, there's no applauding. If that happens, you'll be asked to be removed. So we're doing all of the giving, and they've got to do some giving on their part as well. So I think we need to put some hard rules in place as it relates to the Open Meeting Act and people from the audience coming to speak at this mic. There should not be applause. There should not be motions. There should not be loud noises. That's disrespectful. So if you want us to respect you, then you've got to respect this body and what we're accomplishing here. So I hope that's clear. I want to put some things.
Are you asking that we have a meeting to discuss
Yes,
this
and I'd
before we
like
make
to,
a decision?
absolutely, that's what I'd like to do, is withdraw the motion, go back to the study and put some hard rules in place by this council as it relates to how the public deals with us at the mic.
I'd like to ask our parliamentarian, who I just appointed our parliamentarian. According to Robert's rules, if we're using Robert's rules, once a motion has been seconded, you can't withdraw it.
Well, it can't be withdrawn, but it could be
Be voted down.
postponed, or
Voted
down.
Yeah, but it can't be withdrawn after,
You withdraw,
once
but
it's seconded.
yes, it's on the table.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to postpone? Does that person have to make that amendment, or does it have to?
Well, I would a motion to postpone, when we have a full discussion at a later date. Or we can even put a date on it.
Or we could just vote it,
Or vote it down.
and bring it up at another time.
Bring it up at another time.
I think it does bear looking at a little more, see what we can better. Mr. Simon?
I just want to, before we take a vote, I just want to underscore what Councilman Percassi said. I really think I hear regularly from residents with legitimate concerns by email. And my habit is, most days I check my city email at least twice. This weekend, I received 4 emails from citizens about things that concern them, and I respond. I noticed that I was one of 7 people or maybe 8. The mayor was on some of them. I think that this is a very appropriate way to communicate with council, and I just want to encourage people to use email.
All right, do we want a motion to postpone? What do we want to do, council?
Just take a vote.
take a vote on the motion,
Take a vote on the motion.
and the motion is to,
Well, I would like to have a motion to postpone, and we talk about it in this meeting.
I support it.
yeah, she made a motion to postpone.
She can't move to postpone her own motion.
Can she not?
I think that another member should make the motion to postpone.
You want to make a motion, Mr. West, to postpone, you were supporting hers. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Mr. Stiver, a motion to postpone.
Date uncertain.
One of you makes a motion to postpone, one is supporting. You'll support, all right. Have a motion to postpone.
To a certain date or date uncertain?
Date uncertain, but like within the next 30 days.
Well, I think we need
don't want to do that.
to
No, serious.
look at taking some other approaches. That's going to take
Yeah.
more than 30 days.
But if we discuss this, then when we bring back the motion is still going from 5 to 3, we might have come up with different ideas by then. I say we should just vote it down.
I think that's a good idea, I do think.
Because then we have the motion, we might vote it, we might have come up with something completely different. I think we just vote on the original motion.
But we still need a.
But we have a motion on the
There's a
floor to
motion
postpone
on the
right now.
table to postpone.
So no to postpone and no on the motion, and we discussed it at a council meeting.
Motion to postpone. That's a legitimate thing to do. That is a legitimate, like the city says, that's a legitimate thing to do.
Motion to postpone takes precedent over a main motion.
And that motion is on the table.
But the motion to postpone is from 5 to 3 minutes, so we would have, whatever we come
No,
up with at a council meeting, we
you're
would
not
have to.
listening, Jeremy, you're not listening. She said that takes precedent over the motion, over those prior motions.
The motion to postpone is currently the motion on the table.
Which is the 5 to 3 minutes, right?
No, the motion to
Okay.
postpone the whole discussion.
The discussion, whole discussion.
All right, okay, understood.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll take this up at a later time and do a full court press. Did you vote on the court? All right, now we come to the election of officers. Where do we start from? Where do we go with this?
I believe, council needs to make a motion, who they would like to
A
elect.
nominating motion?
That's correct. And then we'll vote on it.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Frazier.
I nominate Ken Simer for president.
That requires support.
No, it doesn't. No. Do we just one at a time, or? Well, I've forgotten how we.
Keep on going until
And
you
I
don't have
believe
any more
we have
candidates.
Are we going
I believe we have to have
to
support.
do the pro tem, or we don't have to support?
No, this is for the president.
Right.
And if there's anybody else that's going to nominate anybody for president, now's the time to do that, or not. If nobody else gets nominated, then.
I nominate Sylvia Jordan for president. I nominate Sylvia Jordan for president. Any other nominations? I guess we can close nominations. Are you going to give us ballots, or what are you going to do?
No, you're just gonna vote.
We're just gonna vote?
I thought we always made a motion second and we voted on that, but if you're saying no, I guess you just vote on.
I don't remember ever doing this for.
Well, if you have a motion, I mean, all of our resolutions are, moved and seconded by someone, and then we vote on it.
These are nominations, though.
Yeah.
These are nominations.
They're just nominations.
Call a name and take a vote.
Okay, so you would like a roll call vote on this?
Yeah.
I'm getting a little confused, because we've always had paper ballots.
Right.
Paper ballot at this meeting? The paper
I think
ballot,
so.
no,
We
we
did-
did not get paper ballot.
What we did last year is we made a motion, and it was seconded to support one person, and then we all voted yes or no on that one person. And that first person happened to be selected as council president, so we didn't need to make another motion for the second person.
Councilman Moss is correct.
But we don't need a support for that motion, do we? I
The
don't
way that it
recall
was
ever
structured was that
doing
these were nominations.
These are just nominations.
Right. So now, but we have to vote.
Now you have to vote.
To make it easy, let me decline as president.
All right.
I won't accept the nomination.
then I make a motion to approve of Ken Seibert as council president by acclamation.
You're not taking a vote yet.
By acclamation.
There would be now. There's no other nominations.
You don't have to.
Still the
There's
formal.
only one individual, so there's only one nomination. So by acclamation, that is normally the way we've done it.
I've given you my opinion on how we have done it in the past.
Well, we've
But
done
if you have a
it, but
different
we've done it,
opinion,
because we've done it different ways, Nancy. If there's
then
no
I
other
defer to the
nomination,
attorney.
if there's no other nomination,
If there's no other nomination, that's the only nomination, then by acclamation.
by acclamation, that is correct. Mr. Seibert, you,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Chair, I move that Sylvia Jordan be nominated for council president pro tem.
any other nominations? Seeing none, I would say that by acclamation, Sylvia Jordan is president.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Any further discussion? Congratulations. And, I know. Mr. Seibert, we trade places, you can have the rest of the day.
I would like you to finish the meeting that you started, if you don't mind. And I would thank you for your service as a council president.
No comment. You're welcome. Traditionally, we do. You don't want to do this?
No, go ahead and finish the meeting. We only have a few things here.
All right.
Madam President, we're still under the council portion. And I'd like to refer this through the chair to our city planner. This past week in the Southfield Sun, there was a large article on the Walmart that is looking to get approval. And what raised my attention, or got my attention, was there was a quote in here from the individual at Walmart that stated that he was looking for an approval from the city council and/or planning commission. And so I want to make sure that this gentleman is clear that the planning commission does not give him the go-ahead that it's approved. Mr. Crowe, can you help me out there? Can we make sure that he fully understands that this body is the deciding body as if the Walmart comes or not?
That's correct, through the chair. I believe either that was a misquote or a misstatement in the paper. As you may be aware, the Planning Commission will be holding a public hearing on November 28th, which is this Wednesday, and they only make a recommendation to the City Council. They will be considering the rezoning and the site plan review. They'll be making individual recommendations on each of those items. Should that go forward from the 28th, it's likely that a study session would be scheduled for the council in December and brought back for full consideration in January. And it is ultimately the council's final decision on both the rezoning and the site plan. So that is correct.
All right, and Ms. Attorney, we do not have to notify the petitioner of our rules based upon his statement here in the paper.
No,
I don't want him to be confused.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that at the public hearing in front of the planning commission, Mr. Crowe could indicate that, just to let everyone know again, that this is purely a recommending body, and that this is not the final decision on either the site plan or the rezoning.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Anyone else is still in the council?
Can I ask a question? I'd be super. I remember when Nick was here, did somebody tell me, did Nick have these public hearings too? I don't remember that.
Of course.
He did?
Public hearings?
Of course, all the time.
For the planning commission? Public hearing for the,
Yeah.
there are 2 or 3 study meetings, and then a public hearing for the planning commission on a project.
So it wasn't so much publicity on those. I don't remember too many of them.
This particular site plan has taken a higher profile, that's why.
I know we got the site plan.
Well, high profile.
I don't remember the public hearings. All right. contact the same people that they do for public hearings, don't we?
Pretty much.
But they've always had a public hearing and planning. They have the same process, similar process to what we do, but we make the final decision. They recommend.
No, well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
We make the final decision.
They recommend.
But if the planning commission gets a negative feeling, those same people will come back to us and do the same thing to us.
Yeah, that's,
It's all done already when they get through with them.
that's the way it works.
That's the process.
Well, that's the question I'm asking. It doesn't have to work that way. They can have their meetings, but not public meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah,
All
they
those
do.
meetings are public. All those meetings are public.
You mean in Walmart or you mean the planning commission?
Oh, it's the planning commission that's leading the charge here with Walmart.
Hopefully not.
They're meeting with the planning commission constantly.
Every item that comes to us, every public hearing that comes to us, has gone through that same process. It has for years. I mean, that's the way it works. It goes to the planning commission, and they make a recommendation to us.
Well,
And they have study meetings, and they have a public hearing. So,
it wasn't as publicized as it is on
Well, no,
Walmart.
that is true. They don't usually make front page news. That's true.
a lot of people are interested in it.
Hmm?
A lot of people are interested in it.
Well,
I have a question to the planner. Is this the norm to, because I understand what you're saying,
would you
Mr.
like to
Lance.
recognize you, Ms. Lawrence?
Through the chair, the process of the planning commission's review on public hearings is dictated by state statute. Then the city has adopted their own procedures. Many communities only have one study session and make a recommendation. There's been practice here in the city of Southfield that we have 2 to 3 study sessions a month prior to the public hearing so that we worked out all the issues in advance. All those study sessions are open to the public, but they're not necessarily public hearings until such time as the applicant is ready to go forward and a public hearing is scheduled. At that time, there's a requirement of 15-day prior advertising. There's rules that are dictated by the state. And then the recommendation is carried on to the council, where additional study meetings may be held, but there's a site plan review committee that makes recommendations to the full body, and then the council also holds an additional public hearing. So that is governed both by state statute and local policy. In the case of Walmart, because it's such high profile, we've doubled our efforts to make sure that citizens are notified. And typically, we notify 350 feet. We've doubled that to 700 feet. We've sent out over 611 notices to individuals, and we've had several additional meetings to get the word out. Because also it's high profile, we've had additional activity by the local media contacting us, asking us what the process is. And I just provide information on the process. So that's where we are today. We have a public hearing scheduled for Wednesday in the council chambers at 6:30. And at that time, the planning commission may or may not make a recommendation. But that's when the public hearing has been scheduled.
Excuse me, madam. Go ahead. I need to ask the question a different way. The public hearing that is scheduled by the planning commission, is that required by state law?
Yes, it is on all legislative matters such as rezoning and special land use. It is required by state law.
I know it's required of us, but it's required of the planning commission.
That's correct.
Okay.
They've always done it.
Madam Chair?
Yes, this year.
Yeah, I think why it's become a high profile, and there's a lot of things that haven't been, I guess, cleared up, is who owns the land yet. And you know, there was discussion in the paper news meeting a long time ago, it says Walmart coming to Southfield. I asked Terry, have they submitted any proposals? And I never seen a site plan, Walmart, until I asked for it sometime, months later. So, this has been marketed by, I believe, Walmart all this period of time because, I told even a Farmington newspaper carried the story before even Southfield papers did that.
None of us have it.
And so anyway, I told Terry, if all this discussion is taking place, why don't they fill out a petition and formally come forward so that everybody gets the information that's necessary to have. And then that's what followed me getting a site plan. I'd never seen a site plan until then. And so it's high profile, but there's a lot of projects come to the city are high profile, and we'll deal with it when it comes.
Through the chair, I remember back in December of last year, the newspaper making an article about Walmart, and our office was contacted. And it wasn't until October this year that we actually received an official application. So up until that point, it was either rumor, conjecture, or they were doing their due diligence. And until they officially filed, we could not act on it. So the application was submitted in October and was scheduled for November discussion, and that's where we are in the planning process.
All right, let's continue on. Mayor's expense report.
Madam Chair, I move the mayor's expense report of September 22nd, 25th.
Support.
I think it's 23rd and 24th, is that?
No, I got the date,
22nd, 25th.
22nd, 25th.
Well, the
Dates of travel, let's put it this way. I approved the expense report of Mayor Brenda Lawrence, which is 2A on my sheet.
I'm looking at the agenda. All right, and motion by Mr. Perkowski, supported by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Has carried. Mr. City Manager, did you have anything?
No, that's right, ma'am. Excuse me.
Sorry, I'm sorry. 1 second. We'll get back to you. Go ahead. I apologize.
There's a number of things I would like to bring up. To the city planner, remember I talked about at the last meeting about the size of the blueprint. I think this auto zone is a perfect size. I don't know if the council, it's readable. It's not the one that folds out. And that's kind of what I was speaking of. Do we have to have those big sheets? And is this less expense to the developer? I mean, this makes a lot of sense.
You could have gotten a different one.
Well, through the chair, based on your comments, we typically, in the past, we asked for 20 full sets. We reduced it down to 7 full sets for council members and 8 full sets for all of the other administrative staff that receives the packets. Once I have an opportunity to get straw vote from the council, we will further reduce those that want the smaller packet. But because there was some comments that the full set was needed for full review, we cut it in half, and hopefully we can cut it even further. But this was the first time we tried reducing from full sets to see if other parties would be comfortable with a smaller set. So that was our first attempt.
Okay. I think that saves paper and it's more efficient. Couple things. LTU, Lawrence Technology University, kicked off this basketball program November 17th. They were so excited on the campus. The kids were painted in their school colors, and it felt like a real college town. And many of you know that LTU's had that conversation about actually losing students because they wanted the collegiate experience, and so it was really a college town, and it was really great. And now we can actually go to a college game right in our city and watch the competition and root on our hometown team. So I think that that's exciting, and to the listening viewers and residents of Southfield, we now have our own basketball competition, the girls and boys, so I do encourage them to support them. Word Network built a new studio, as you know, on Channel 7, the property where Channel 7 is. They have their grand opening officially, opened their studio, which is very, very nice, and they will be doing a lot of programming from there. We were invited by the Martin Luther King Task Force to the African American Museum to see an exhibit, Pathways to Freedom in the Americas. And I know council members here attended, and I was just really touched about, they tracked the lives of 2 women and their families, and each of them came from slavery, and how one of the families, they were taken as slaves to Mexico, and one was taken as slaves to the United States. And the 2 of these women have really documented the similarities and how we have so much in common. It was the Martin Luther King Task Force had a packed room. It was very nice, and I was really impressed by the information that I received, and compliment the Martin Luther King Task Force for really taking it out to educate, because I did not hear that in my history books. We've had a centennial celebration of the St. George Romanian Orthodox Cathedral. I attended that, and the history of that congregation, starting in Detroit and being in Southfield, they celebrated their 100th year, and it was a full, so many been in their banquet room. It was packed with so many people from neighboring congregations, and their archdiocese was there, and it was a really good event. And likewise, the congregation, the Armenian Congregational Church, celebrated their 95th anniversary, and just really said so many great things about being in Southfield and how they chose Southfield as the place for their congregation, and that was a very it was a good day to be in Southfield. They were very proud of that. I want to tell everyone that Thursday, November 29th, the Bird Tree lighting will be at 6:45 at the Bird Historical Site. And I hope that we all come out and attend. Before that, on Tuesday, November the 27th, we'll have our tree lighting ceremony here at Southfield, and Santa will come to town. Each of the lighting events are unique. The bird tree lighting is an old-fashioned tree lighting, and it's, both of the events are very family-oriented, and we hope that you all come back. I just want to I know we're going to recognize her another time, but I want you to know how proud I am of Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson, who was given the prestigious award of being the Superintendent of the Year in the state of Michigan, and I am so proud of her and proud of our school system, who she is the leader of. 2 issues I wanted to bring forward. When we put in those bus stops and they're glass enclosed, and I asked the question, and I thought we were going to come back with that on how we're going to maintain them. Well, I was going down 8 Mile Road on the Southfield side, and there is a bus stop there that's enclosed, that is grimy, and it even has graffiti written on it, and it says our city, and that is unacceptable. And I told you that I asked this because one time I was in Birmingham, and there was a squeegee cleaning a bus shelter. I don't know who cleaned it, but that bus shelter must be cleaned and that graffiti removed. That is in Southfield, that's not acceptable. It was between Southfield Road and Evergreen Road. Southfield Road between Evergreen. That, I was surprised. I was just surprised and disappointed. But what is our plan? And I'll ask that again, to maintain. They're beautiful now, but how are we going to maintain them and make sure that they don't become grimy and there's a certain amount of wear and tear, but maintaining it is something that we should have on our agenda. And lastly, I just wanted to say that the holidays are coming. The city of Southfield, like every other community, has been hit with a lot of economic stress, and we can see this tension starting in homes, and that I want everyone to really know that there's so much to be thankful for. We just had Thanksgiving. It's not about gifts. A gentleman said something I thought was really profound. He said, I love Thanksgiving. You know why I love Thanksgiving? Because the present that you bring is yourself. There's no gift. The point that you come to my home and sit down and have a meal with me is your gift. And we need to really understand that our family, our health, our community, our quality of life is what's really important during this time. And we all have to work together. I always say this, check on your seniors, make sure they're okay. And as the weather starts changing, you know, all of us have shoveled our seniors' driveway if they needed, or checked on it if we didn't see it plowed. But even single mothers with children, we just kind of have to be, we must be a community, and that's what made Southfield a great place to live. And I want us to continue that. And during these holiday seasons, to really focus in on what's really important, and that's the your health and strength, your family, and being grateful for those little things that so often we overlook, because we take the small things and make them problems, and it just blocks our vision. So I just want to say I'm excited that the holidays is here, and I want to give a thank you to, this is something that a person does do, is start saying thank you to people. And Delvin Gray has written a book about thank you, but this council has worked hard. We disagree on things. Each of you brings something unique, and I just want to thank you for your service. Our city clerk has been through more elections than she's ever seen in 1 year. Thank you for your work, Jim Charette, and constantly having the sleeves roll up to do the job. Our city planner, thank you for making Southfield to become the Renaissance city that we want. And to our city deputy attorney, thank you for being here, and let's keep it going. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Charette, you said you had nothing. Do you want to add something?
Thank you. I had the opportunity to say what I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ward, city attorney?
Yes, the first item is a lawsuit involving Fire Management LLC versus the city of Southfield. It stems from a sewer backup that occurred in which the plaintiff sustained some property damage, asking city council to authorize us to take whatever action is necessary to defend the city.
So moved, Madam.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Perkowski, supported by Mr. Frazier, authorizing the city attorney to take action. All in favor?
Aye.
Any question?
Well, I have a question, and I'd like to know more about it, if you're able to tell us. This is not up from the sewer, why didn't the city take care of it?
Well, the investigation that we've now taken, that is not a city of Southfield main, that is an Oakland County system that runs in front of that property. So that we believe is properly with the county, and that's what we will be pursuing in this litigation.
Does it happen to the private residents
The one, if it was a city sewer, and if there was something wrong with the sewer, then oftentimes we do take some action.
Telling me on 10 Mile, that's the Oakland County.
That's correct. That's correct.
My question had to do with statute of limitations. Are we within the time frame?
We are. This was a backup from a year ago, and we were put on notice when it occurred.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right, thank you.
Did you tell them that counties?
We sent those claims out to the county. That's correct.
Yeah, so why are we?
Well, you know, at that point, right, that property owner has decided to bring the suit against the city.
Okay.
And so that is part of our basis for defending that it was not our facility that caused any type of backup in that property. At this juncture, yes.
Attorney cast wide nets
Yes,
many times.
yes, you know that.
Sorry, Ms. Word.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and what about the next one?
Was there a vote?
Yeah, I shall move it.
You voted yes.
I voted yes, right.
Yeah,
And I said I didn't, no, we did vote on, yes. All right, number 2.
The second item that I have is another lawsuit that's been initiated against the city. It results from an employee of the city who was in a motor vehicle incident with the plaintiff and is now sustained injuries. They've claimed injuries. So again, we're asking for the council to authorize us to take whatever action is
I
necessary.
still move, Madam Chair.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Perkowski, supported by Mr. Frazier. Authorize the attorney to defend the city. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any questions?
The last item is a proposed amendment to the city code, chapter 126, traffic. This item was discussed with the council at last week's November 19th COW meeting. In general, what it will do is adopt the state law that now provides enhanced penalties for those operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level content of 0.17 or more. So that resolution would approve that ordinance amendment, and then we'd be asking that you introduce the ordinance.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Mr. Frazier, supported by Mr. Watson. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And now we have to introduce it.
Madam President,
Frazier?
I move that we introduce ordinance number 1590 into support.
99, supported.
99?
99.
99.
Mr. Moss supports. Ordinance 1599 is then introduced. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Did you have something to say?
Yes, there was one other matter that I need to bring up under the council portion, and this is through the chair to Mr. Charette, and maybe this can be referred to the Ed Gardella, or I don't know who it would go to. There's a liquor store on 10 Mile, just east of Evergreen, and they put up lights on the outside of their building in the evening, and I don't know if that's within if that falls within sign ordinance or what, but there's decorated lights, colorful lights that are on their building in the evening. I don't know if anyone else has seen that. Right on the liquor
Next to the
store.
vote. Next to the vote.
Right next to the boat place, you put these lights that cover the whole building. So, they're not Christmas, they look like Christmas lights. It's on 10 Mile, yes.
This is the second place we'll visit tomorrow. The first is the bus stop the mayor brought to our attention. That's our short-range plan, and we will clean that up tomorrow. But we'll have a more comprehensive plan later. But we'll take a look at this and see if it's a violation, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you.
We don't have, Ms. Banks, did you have anything?
No, but these.
No, Treasurer's not here. Mr. Crowe, did you have anything?
Yeah, if I could just ask the council very quickly, those that prefer the 11 by 17 versus the 24 by 36 feet for site plan.
I don't care, as long as I can read it.
I prefer the
I'll
smaller.
take the
Yeah,
small one.
smaller.
Mr.
I
Yeah, you would.
I want to.
Okay, so, Mr.
No, I'm small.
It really depends on what it is.
I think I wanted a bigger one, bigger than what we get.
Is there an electronic version?
No.
No, I find it small.
If through the chair, whatever way you desire, we want to get it right, but we will always have one large one available for you to review. If we go to the standard, so right now I'm hearing the council is comfortable with 11 by 17.
I'm not.
What are we saying?
Well, it saves the applicant hundreds of dollars. So we have, for now, Ms. Seymour and Mr. Fracassi for the letter. Just Ms. Seymour?
You wanted a bigger one than we already got.
Okay.
Sure, Ms.
We had
Seymour.
this discussion before, and there were people on this council, and I think Ken was one of them, Mr. Cypress, that were, we want to be able to read it.
Right.
And if we have to make a decision that we can't read it, so this to me is, I like the big one.
Get a small one and a full-page magnifying.
Everyone else is okay trying 11 by 17?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll start with Mr. Cyber and Ms. Seymour with the larger one.
You don't want the larger one, do you?
He just wants to read, be able to read.
Want to be able to read, I can't guarantee that.
Well,
11 by
that's the
17.
whole issue, it can vary.
I will try.
Okay.
I'm not gonna make it.
Okay, very, very
The
good.
things in there, you need a magnifying glass to read that. You really do. Look at the print, Mr. Cyber. Now get into the smaller details.
I'll take a red T-shirt.
We're only doing purple ones here.
We don't have, let's see, nothing to schedule, we have no ordinances. I guess we are in the business.
Thank you, Madam.
My pleasure. Thank you, council, for being a good council. I've enjoyed your company. I've enjoyed your efforts seriously. I really have. This is a good council. This is a very